Oh, hi! I didn't see
Hello.
you there. Yeah, that was really forced. What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another Inanimate Insanity live stream. Very excited to talk to you guys. We've got an awesome panel of people here today to answer your questions specifically. So my name is Adam, and we've got a special guest today.
I'm Ben.
Yeah. Ben, what do you do for the show?
I voice act for Balloon, and I help out with writing songs and music for the show, and more recently, actually singing those songs.
That's right. This guy was the voice of the montage song in the episode, which came out awesomely. And we actually recently did a Periscope on Twitter. You guys should really follow us on Twitter because that is where we got all of the questions that we're going to be answering in the stream today was actually entirely off of Twitter. We will not be looking at the chat, I believe.
We got it off Twitter. We got it off Twitter, and we put the link on Twitter, and we also put the link in our Discord, which you can also go join. But yes, if you follow our Twitter, yes, that's really good. Go for it.
An animate tweet.
Yes. Awesome. And yeah, I'm Adam.
Okay.
I created the show. I guess we can.
We're friends.
They've heard my
always
voice.
rubbing that
probably.
Really sweet. Don't even.
It's not important. We'll just No. Why don't we go? I was gonna say from left to right, but that varies, right? So
we make that mistake every time.
Yeah, we don't know left to right.
Here we go.
All right. So someone introduce themselves. Go.
I'm Brian. I'm a co-director on the show. I do writing. I like lead with the writing. I voice act as Fan. Do some editing. I did lyric writing for the song.
And he's a super nerd.
Well, that goes without saying.
Oh, me? Me?
I'm a nerd. Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff, Brian. We're happy to have your nerdy contributions.
Oh, thanks.
I can literally feel whoever's vibration that is.
That was me. I'll remove my phone from the table. All right.
Dustin, you go ahead. I'm sharing the link to the live stream on the Twitter right now, so everyone can come watch.
All right. Someone else, go. What do you do? What do you do for the show?
Hey.
Why are you here?
Hey guys, I'm Justin. What's going on? I did some co-directing. I write. I voice act as Knife and Paper and stuff, and I love having a good time. What's up with that?
Do you really? Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's my knife impression. I hope you like.
Oh, I thought that was Justin. Wow.
Pretty nice.
We're all set. If Justin ever decides, no.
Yeah, Justin never decides exactly. All right, and finally.
Finally,
we had Chasing. I'm Taylor. Stuff on the show. It's not that important at all. So
Taylor, you do quite a few things. You should explain what you do.
Okay, let's go down the list, shall we? I do storyboards for the show. I animate. I also do voice acting. I do a bit of writing as well. I've been around since season 1 as well, so that's been real fun. And so, Adam and I help kind of direct some of the animators as well. So between the 4 of us, we are the core 4, but then we have Ben, so we're the Chive 5.
The Chive 5.
And currently, we do have one more person who we are waiting on right now. We have Loren, who should be joining us fairly soon. He's figuring out a couple technical issues with Google Hangouts because it's not a good system.
And that'll make
on the Google. Yeah, they might cut us going.
No, oh no, Google Hangouts, you're so great. So he's gonna be figuring out some stuff. So hopefully we'll get Loren in here as well. I will be working with him to figure out how to get him in. So yeah.
Yes, Loren has been phenomenal throughout this episode. He made a ton of props, which he actually put out a tweet the other day where he showed everything he made, and it was just like a massive amount of stuff. Follow him on Twitter too. Honestly, like Twitter's just a fun time. Like go follow us on Twitter. I feel like I plugged that enough though, so I'll stop that now. But we are here to answer a lot of questions today. We have a whole document. We need a question reader. Does anyone want to do that?
Well, I figure the person who chose the question should read the question. So
that makes sense.
Okay. I'll quickly just explain what we did. We released a poll a couple days ago on both our Twitter and Discord and just a little around social media. And we asked you guys to submit your username and your question. And this is so because, you know, in the past we've loved having our Q&A live streams, but they've been a little dysfunctional. So we figured that this is a great way to kind of organize our questions and everything. So we got over 200 questions, which was wild, which is like awesome. So thank you guys for all of that. And so what we basically did was that all 5 of us chose some of our favorite questions. But ranging, one person may have chosen 1 or 2 or 3, and sometimes some people chose over 10. So we kind of just chose what questions we feel we'd like to answer, as opposed to any questions we did not want to answer, whether they may be spoilers or we just do not feel like we have the liberty to answer it. So we will kind of go in an order, but of course we shall start with Adam.
Oh, well, thank you so much. So
he created the show, right? Did he create the show?
No.
He created the show. I would like to throw out there that we will not be doing comments, live chat questions. So I know people in the past have tried donating money so that the questions will be getting asked. We are not going to be looking there for questions, or probably roughly in general. So just a heads up on that one, guys.
I'll keep the live chat.
But don't send us money, please. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going with a question now. Are we good with that?
Yes. Go with your first question.
All right. I'm actually going to make the font bigger in here too, because I'm having trouble reading. Oh god, that's too large. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Too big.
So 14-point font, baby. Exactly. So the first question is from Rick Tunes. He asks, "What do you think you'll be doing after you finish Inanimate Insanity? Are there any dreams or goals you wish to achieve in the coming years?" And this is a question we can all answer because it is not directed towards anybody. And I thought it'd be cool to touch on that. I just want to be involved in cartoons however I can. I would love to be involved in YouTube however I can. If I can do both, that would be fantastic. I always will be making cartoons, and hopefully I can put them all on this channel after Inanimate Insanity is over. I don't know where I'll be working or what I'll be doing, but if you follow me on Twitter, you'll find out.
Oh my goodness.
No.
Well, Adam, you actually did release a couple, like some art recently. Like, you had a lot of work that you've done recently aside from II. So
yeah, and this is actually a good time. I am about to be a senior in college, which is actually very scary. So
we all are.
Year, all of the animators have to do a senior film that they call a thesis. And part of that process is actually really documenting the process of making it so that you have kind of a log to see when it's over. And I thought it would be cool to incorporate YouTube in some way. So if you stay tuned, there will probably be updates on that. But yeah, besides Inanimate Insanity, there will be a short film I'm working on next year, which is fun. And hopefully that'll be on this channel as soon as it can be. So thumbs up there.
Cool.
Yeah.
Woo!
That's enough with me. Ben, what about you? What are you doing?
Well, currently I'm studying vocal arts and opera here at the same university as Adam. And I guess my end goal... Oh, hey, it's Loren.
Oh, yeah, Loren here.
Everyone, we've got a special guest who's finally joined us. LorenTZel. Loren, how are you?
I'm sorry. I tried doing it from Edge, and I had to do it from Chrome.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense because it's Google. No worries, dude. You're fine. Introduce yourself.
Well, I'm glad we figured out those technical difficulties. We were in the middle of a question, but we can just take a quick... No,
we're good. Yeah, we're good.
Just quickly introduce yourself. Maybe some people might not know who you are.
Hi, I'm Loren, I guess. I do some things on II sometimes.
Super specific.
Like
I make characters and props, and I design a lot of stuff so if you see like Test Tube holding her calculator, I made the calculator in that episode, and I did everything like that. And
do you have a favorite design for the latest episode?
I don't know, that Chloe, I guess, the crab.
Chloe,
yes. That's actually, we were just talking about this before you came in. I'm sorry, this is totally breaking away from the questions, but I feel like it's important to mention is that, well, Loren made, like, I want to say, like, 95% of the props that we see last episode. Like, almost all of them were made by Loren. And so, one of the props I remember that Loren made that was like just one of my favorites as well is that he made the blue crab, which he also decided to name. What was the name of the crab?
Chloe, because
he named the crab Chloe, the one that Shell takes out, because
Yeah.
it has a shell. So Chloe the crab. Yeah. So we were in the middle of Adam's first question, which was, what do you think you'll be doing after Inanimate Insanity? I believe Ben was answering.
Ben was answering, so you
Yeah.
can.
Right.
Sorry for interrupting.
I'm really interested in music, like all aspects of it, writing music and performing music and singing. So I think I'd be happy if my career ended up being anything to do with music, any step of the process. I'm also interested in animation as well. So if I could somehow find a way to combine
Yeah.
music and animation, that'd be great.
Awesome. That's good stuff, dude.
You've done it already.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. More to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Ben, you have been working on a lot of music lately, and you know I've listened to a couple of the works that he's done, and it's really, really impressive. And you can hear a lot of his work in the most recent song that we heard in the episode.
Right.
Yes.
Both of them, actually.
That was his
So-
voice, surprisingly. He doesn't
Yeah.
sound like
Yes, yes,
like Balloon 24/7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's Balloon singing.
Balloon's voice is
Yeah,
my
this
natural
is actually him altering his voice right now. Balloon is actually his current.
Oh
voice.
yeah.
Hot take.
Um,
Ooh, that was hard to do that whole time. Oh, come on. All right. Proof in the pudding.
all right, so do we want to move on, or does anyone else also want to answer this question?
I mean, I think pretty much, like, I don't want to speak for all of us, but at least for me, it's pretty ideal what's going on right now with, like, you know, I love writing. I love animation. This is great. I'd love to do something like this in the future, you know. So we'll see what's down the pike. You know, you got to focus on what's right now, and you got to make whatever you're doing right now the best it can be. So yeah, you just as long as you approach everything with that philosophy, then you'll be satisfied with what you're doing right now, and I am more than satisfied.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think I definitely would have to agree with that, Brian. Is that right now, like I you know, like I said, I'm speaking mostly for myself, but other people can agree. Is that I'm focusing a lot on what we're doing right now. I personally love this journey. I think it's super fun, and every episode we make is just like another like just great installment that like I enjoy the process of making it. I enjoy the process of releasing it. I enjoy the whole thing, and you know, I haven't really thought about what we're going to be doing in the future. Individually or as a group. I mean, individually, that's my own personal problem. I'm still in college and I'm figuring everything out. And I think everybody else is kind of, you know, we're still figuring out our places. We're all creative in some different ways, some more than others. Adam. And,
Oh, burn.
so
Wow. Burn right
no,
here.
I mean, like, some more of those like Adam's in a school for creativity. So, anyways, I think. For the future of Inanimate Insanity, you know, we'll see what comes, and for the future of ourselves, like, you know, we'll do what we can because we're trying.
And we're also in a really incredible position right now, being able to do Inanimate Insanity and releasing episode 12. That's not something that, like, a long while back people were able to just do, right? I mean, we have the tools at our disposal to actually create something really, really fun that a lot of people would say to themselves, hey, I could do something like that when I'm a professional one day, but I am so happy to be part of this process in the right now. But I'm also, you know, constantly thinking about what projects I'd be interested in pursuing in the future. But although right now it's perfect because writing, animation, voice acting, it's favorite things to be involved with.
It's the dream.
It's amazing, and it's great to be here. And I'm so happy with the reception for the new episode, and thank you all again. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Like a big thing too is really talking with the community and having a community. One of my favorite creators, Casey Neistat, who I always bring up, I feel like in every live stream we do. The reason why he worked in TV for a long time and the reason why he focused mainly on YouTube is because he loved that community aspect, and I feel exactly the same way. Like,
totally
I feel like I wouldn't want to just make content and put it out there and leave. Like, I like the one-on-one or a million-on-one or whatever it is. I like that personal connection you have with your audience that YouTube gives you, and I hope whatever I'm doing, I can have that too. That would be great. Have my cake and eat it too. I gotta always say that in every live stream.
Yeah. Well, I think that was a really, really good start because that was a really, really great like thought-provoking question. It's important to note that some questions will take a longer time to answer than others. So obviously, be patient. That one was really, really, like I said, thought-provoking. So I thought that was really great. Everybody gave some good answers. Lauren, do you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right.
No.
All
right.
Question.
So, like I said before, the way we're going to do it, Adam chose his first question, so I'm going to choose my first question, and then Brian.
We have another very thought-provoking question coming up.
Well, yes. Well, the next question that I chose is not exactly one that's going to take that much long, but there was someone that asked, well, someone being mega amazing asked, do you think that purple grass exists in real life? And they asked this because this episode, Salt and Pepper's alternate universe had purple grass. But I chose this question because, Adam, I don't know if you remember, do you remember when a while ago we were doing something in Flash and there was a glitch that caused all the grass files to turn purple?
I do not remember that, actually.
Dude, Animate Insanity Origins.
No, I'm serious. This was maybe Adam doesn't remember. This was a couple of years ago, maybe like 2 years ago, when we were animating and something happened to the grass and it turned the grass like purple. And we were like, that looks so weird, but it looks so cool. And we were like, oh, I would love to implement that into some sort of episode. So that was kind of, at least I remember that was what was in my mind when
was this
we were talking
in Anime Studio or?
No, this was in Flash.
This was still
definitely in Flash. There was something where like the actual file was like overloaded with details or something like that. So
there's too much green on the screen. You had to make it purple.
I have no idea. So there was just something that went on, and it turned the grass purple. And honestly, it looked really, really cool. And I was like, can we somehow implement this? And so I guess Adam doesn't remember because
that's the story behind it.
No, not really.
But that wasn't the question, Taylor. Do you think it exists in real life?
Yeah, Taylor.
Yes, it can exist because you can paint it.
There's no.
Yeah, they painted it. They threw. It's the episode's all about painting, so they threw the paint on the grass, and it's purple now.
Well, also, I'm pretty sure purple grass can exist. So
either way, reality is just perception. So you make it, and
it.
it's there. It exists. So I mean, that's how you want to define it.
Exactly. And carrying off what Justin said, a lot of the idea with an alternate reality, you want to take full advantage of it being this colossally different like imagery, and just like all the rules have changed. So we really were trying to think, okay, let's question ourselves at each creative choice we would make. Like, what could we do to make this visually distinct from what we normally see? So It's just completely eye-popping and crazy out there. Yeah.
But the really important thing, I think, is still making it the same. Like, we wanted to get across, it's the same world. Just this is what happened when this minor thing happened that changed everything. So we wanted to make sure that there was still some familiarity.
And really drive the point in that it's an alternate reality.
And I just love comedically the idea that Salt and Pepper being placed in any position of power has such a world.
They're scary.
The grass itself.
Yeah.
They went to the store and they got a bunch of.
This grass isn't pretty enough.
We had some discussions on why the grass was purple, pink.
I like to think everything's just drawn on.
That's one way to put it. I'm not against that idea, but I remember we had a very long discussion about why the world looks like it currently does, and I think I don't really know how to go into it right now, but there is a I like to entertain the idea that yes, they literally handcrafted and they like remade the grass and everything like that. But there's also an alternate idea that I'm not going to go into right now. That
of course,
spoilers. So, anyways, I'm glad we got into that. Brian, how about you go to your first question?
All right. So let's see. My first question was King number 8872. I don't know why.
That's the Discord tag. You don't have to read the
That's
number.
the Discord chat. Yeah, I thought that didn't look real. Okay. But the question was, how long was Paintbrush planned to be written as gender non-conforming for, gender non-binary? Who suggested the idea? And that was something that I wanted to do for a really long time. I wanted to do light bulb time travel. I would always say light bulb time travel would be
Episode
great.
1, light bulb time travel.
Light bulb time travel was
that's a long-term idea.
The reason why in episode 1, Fan brings up the idea of because I wanted to sow the seeds for this idea. I wanted to sow the seeds for an episode in which we time travel. Light bulb goes back to the past, changes,
and then she goes back to the future.
Brian,
and then she goes back to the future.
Was?
What?
Do you recall what the question was?
I recall what the question was. I'm getting to it. Don't you worry.
He's gonna
Don't you
create
worry.
this
It's
inner
a
monologue
slower,
before we
the
can
real
answer.
reason
great
I-
payoff.
Yes. So what I was then really thinking was, okay, that's a great like canvas for an idea. Like it could be really like creative and wacky and fun. But what is like the emotional essence? What's like the core of that story? And I thought Lightbulb and Paintbrush was just such a great connection. I love those two characters. I really wanted to like give one that just like Paley was just focusing on them. And I was trying to then figure out, okay, then what is really be said about their dynamic that we haven't touched on before. And it's really just delving further into both of them individually, so then we could see how both of them come together. Because it's obvious that Lightbulb and Paintbrush, they're not very similar people on the surface level, right? Because Lightbulb is very more
Light
out
bulb is a
there,
light bulb, and paintbrush is a paintbrush.
and Paintbrush is a paintbrush, exactly. And,
Yeah,
and Paintbrush is more pragmatic, has very like rational, like as such. And so it's really then just about, okay, now that then we've fleshed out who they are individually, then we see if there came a time in which the teams were to merge and there aren't these constructs that are forcing them to stay together anymore, does Paintbrush still then want them to be? So Paintbrush is then on the extreme of, we can then be completely separate. We then don't, like we don't need to then work together at all, because then I will just completely independently pursue my own perspective. And Lightbulb is the other side of the extreme, which is, well, I want us all to get along. I want us all to be similar. I want everyone to be like pretty much exactly the same. And of course, the episode through the alternate timeline explores the toxicity of everyone being exactly the same. Because then if Pepper really wants to be exactly the same as Salt, then conflict is bound to then arise. And that's when it got into the idea of Salt and Pepper having expectations for there being one of two things to expect. People who are normal like them, or totally zany like everyone else, i.e. different. And that's a very binary way of looking at the world. So I want to really thematically show that idea throughout the episode and have Paintbrush, because I love the idea of then Paintbrush being gender non-binary. I know that we had always then kind of had that question of like, what's Paintbrush's gender? What's Paintbrush's gender throughout the show? I thought it was just a great opportunity to like, because this is then it's a moment for Paintbrush to I didn't want it to be like a soapbox, but at the same time I wanted to then give it the importance and significance that it deserved. So it was really just about finding that balance of how do you tell a story that really then ties into all of those ideas, but feels like a natural then sort of integration. And I'm so pleased at all of the response, because you never know how this is then going to go over, but there's been really an outpouring of love for the character, and I'm so glad that Paintbrush, like they have more fans than ever. And yeah, it was a very long answer, but I knew it was kind of like a big topic.
Well, I mean, the question was how long was it planned, but I mean, your answer worked too.
I mean, it's fair.
It was planned for
I thought it was
episode 1 of season 1.
Right.
That specifically, the idea of Paintbrush being gender non-binary, I would say since at least I was in like senior year of high school, I remember pitching the idea. So that would have been
We didn't
like
exactly.
that would have been
While.
Right.
It was.
We didn't exactly. I think.
It was a fun scenario.
Go.
Yeah, go ahead, Taylor.
Nobody's saying anything. Speak.
No,
Justin-
it was a fun scenario because I feel like a lot of us came to such a conclusion, roughly the same time. Because we started off in keeping it in a jokey scenario, you could say, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I think once we understood that there was that C, as Lightbulb comes to understand, I think it just clicked for us. We were like, that's what we got to do. I mean, that's
Obviously.
that's what makes most sense here, because
I'm pretty sure it was almost like an unsaid decision.
yeah,
that all
that's what I said.
came to the conclusion that this is obviously like this is like what it should. This is what it is, and like I never really looked at Paintbrush as anything else, to be honest. Like, if anything, before I really came to that final conclusion, I was just like, I don't really know whether or not boy or girl, but at the same time, it doesn't matter to me. Like, Paintbrush has so much more than what gender are they. So
That's a
I
good
feel
way to
like
put it.
I feel like when we kind of push that aside and really focus more on Paintbrush as a character, the whole gender thing wasn't really the focus, and because we kind of made that the secondary factor instead of the primary, we kind of all came to the conclusion that, you know, obviously we don't really think boy or girl really describes this character, and so you know,
There you go.
is what we want.
Even like the planning of the episodes, when we would be like writing the dialogue and fleshing out the idea and just like talking amongst ourselves, it would always be like, oh, what is he gonna do this episode, or what is she gonna do this episode? And both felt like wrong to say. I don't know, at least for me. Like,
I agree.
neither pronoun really defined that character for me at all.
Yeah.
Like, it never felt that natural. So I feel like this is the only logical conclusion, really. And I'm so happy with how, like Brian was saying before, the response has been nothing but positivity and, well, at least mostly. And we really, really appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, for that.
So how about we move on to the
Got
next
some good news on the other side of things.
Who's next? Who's up on the?
Let's go to the next question. Justin, it is your time to get your first question.
Justin, go.
But next question, from Dapigan, I'm probably pronouncing that right.
Dapigan.
What were some of your other ideas for storylines in episode 12? So I want to plug in what we got cut, because there's a few things I have in mind, but
I can't
some-
say anything because I didn't.
some of your favorites.
That's not.
Someone come to me, but Brian or Adam, if you remember any of the scrapped ideas that we had, I'm trying to remember.
Well, Justin, I know we have.
Wait,
We'll get we can get a little bit into detail on what it is, because I know
we won't. We can't dive too deep into it yet because the
exactly.
water there. But
Because
one of the biggest ideas that we had initially going into this episode was including Mike and Taco in the time travel antics instead of just leaving it up to what the moment I really like of Taco just putting her hand up to the portal and not being able to go through and having these thoughts of regrets. It would be in depth throughout this episode rather than any other manner, but that they travel back to the past with the test tube in an undercover sense. Coincide with them on their adventures, but instead have a more just be able to sit and think throughout the episode while Lightbulb and Test Tube are on their adventures, and that might have helped being able to cut away to something. But I do think it would have taken up a lot of time that we could use to potentially explore in the future if we so deem so to be the right way to go. But that's probably the biggest thing that got cut out from outline to script.
I think that's probably the biggest thing. Adam, do you remember anything else?
For me, I can't think of anything specifically, but definitely that was a good thing to highlight. And I think that it just works with all the dynamics better the way we kind of structured it. I think that would be too much going on. So I am happy with how it turned out.
The episode was already 25 minutes long.
Right. So, the thing was also as well what Justin was saying about how Microphone and Taco travel along, but then Lightbulb and Testu can't really let him notice it. It contrived as to well, then how could they forth each time? They accompany them to the episode 1 and then to the old timeline and then back, and then they never actually cross paths. It felt like if you're then going to go so then crazy out there with the whole Lightbulb test tube storyline, you need to then just you're going for that. That's the focus. So you didn't want to then undercut that. And the thing is, I see a lot of comments that are great already just based on the one line of another chance perhaps and Taco restores the portal. Some people are saying, oh, that's because then Taco wants another chance to,
win the
do better at the game and win. And then some people are like, maybe it's because she wants to then make up with Pickle, make up with everybody. And which one is it? I don't know. So
we don't even know.
That question is
How
still,
crazy
people are still asking. Exactly. So, so people are still asking that question, and that's all we needed to put in there. So it worked out. So that we got our goal across in a very succinct way.
Yeah, totally. And one thing that wasn't always there, this is kind of somewhat, I think Pepper's death punch to Saul. I don't think that was in there the whole time. I think that was the last The
Well-
last edition we added, right? I could be wrong.
Yeah, well, I remember two things where I'm pretty sure like we were in the writing process, and I don't know who came with the idea. It was the pepper punch thing was not originally in there, but then we were like, what would happen if this happened? We were like, oh my god, we have to include that. But one of the other things I remember was that we didn't originally plan for Baseball to really be acting the way he is, like to be like kind of like all moody and angry at people. I remember he didn't actually have much of a focus at all this episode, and
Don't talk to me.
actually-
I'm angry.
Yes.
kind of like that. We were like oh, like, he's had a lot of stuff going on for him. Let's kind of like push him to the side for a bit. But then we were like, no, we can add a bit more for him. And I remember that whole scene where he talks to Test Tube and Fan at the soda machine. I'm pretty sure we didn't even intend for Baseball to be in there. And then I'm pretty sure Adam was like, what if Baseball just walked in and was just like super moody and started yelling at them just out of nowhere? And we were just like, that's perfect. Like, we need to do this now. And that eventually led to Fan and Test Tube voting for him during the elimination process, which is what what we were trying to go for as well. And so we were like, we need a way for this to happen. And Adam's just like, he can just walk in and just yell at them because he's. And we're like, let's do it. I
don't think when you pitched it, you were like, I don't know, maybe we could just do this, and no one objected to it. Everyone was just
we were all just like, let's do it.
Yeah, I was like, you got to get him angsty in there, like super angsty. And I was like, oh, an altered timeline, that's where I wish I was right now. And just like, really
He runs away and go cries.
You kind of sound like him too.
Yeah,
Well,
out of
one
nowhere.
thing that we didn't actually eventually put in the episode was that I really wanted to do this, but we didn't get the time to do it. Was that when he was walking away? Justin knows what I'm talking about. When he was walking away, he was supposed to like turn around and like look back at them, and like he was gonna say something else, but he was like, and then just like stops himself and walks away. Like he's gonna be like super angry. He was gonna want to say something, but he didn't because he was like trying to like control himself. But I guess like in the process of making the actual scene, we didn't actually include that. Although that would have been kind of fun to do.
That would have been
I
pretty
like
fun,
that,
though.
dude.
But no, there's time. There's time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so how about we
Next
go?
question.
Let's go on to Ben's question.
Ooh, my
Ben
question.
has one question.
I do have one question.
There's one there, and it's a very special one,
This is a
actually.
good one.
Other way.
how do
I got you.
Oh, it's a very special question.
Oh, okay.
I got you.
It's the most special.
The question was asked by Liveling in Style, and it says, "This is a question for Brain. How hard was it to sing the song for this episode? I didn't even believe it was you until I looked at the credits, and you did it."
No.
Okay. I don't
Everybody's
I
favorite
don't
Inanimate
wanna think
Insanity.
Let Ben talk. Let Ben talk.
Okay, so it says this is a question for Brain, which I assume means Brian. And I think this person was probably under the impression that Brian sang the two songs in the episode
Oh.
because he's credited as lyricist, which I guess
Yes.
could be perceived to mean the person who sang the lyrics.
Right.
But it just means Brian wrote most of the lyrics.
And
I
sang a
actually-
terrible demo that I sent to Ben so he can know what the melody was.
Wait, you said
That's
it.
right. That's
Why
right.
would I
Brian
do this?
also helped contribute to the melody.
I did.
And,
I did.
Yeah, and so I just wanted to clear up. I was the person who sang the two songs. Brian wrote the lyrics and also helped create the melody, and Morgan did the final instrumental version for the song that you hear in the episode. So I guess I just kind of wanted to clear that up.
Zero Cakes on Twitter. Follow him.
Yes, do. And actually, I was thinking today I would finally make available to the public the original sheet music that I created for the
Ooh.
for the songs that Morgan looked at to create the instrumentals. So I'm gonna tweet that right now.
Oh my god!
That's great. Well, Ben, really quickly, because the question still remains:
Yes.
how hard was it for you to sing the two songs?
It was really interesting actually because they're both very different styles. The first one I had to sing in a way that I never really had before, like because we were kind of trying to go for that kind of rebellious kind of rocker feel, and that's very much not really my voice type. So I had to do my best to imitate what I thought that would sound like, and I think I actually did pretty okay.
Oh yeah.
Like,
Great. What are you talking about?
Well-
It's so good.
If I can just say something, is that I remember over the summer when Ben was actually like, first singing and pitching the actual lyrics for the song and everything, or just, his actual singing for the song. I remember like first hearing the instrumental from Morgan Zero Cakes, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm so on board with this. I love this. And then a couple days later, I got like a file from Ben where it was just the chorus of him going like feeling free, and I was like, it was just like so incredible. And I remember hearing it and I started like screaming because I was like, this is going to be the coolest sounding song ever, between like the electric guitar and the electronic music, and then Ben being a chorus of himself singing this whole thing. I was like, this is going to be the best thing we've ever done. So I was so excited for this.
Right. And like that might be something that people don't even realize about the song, that there is kind of a little chorus of more of my voice doing things in the background of the song. Like it's pretty subtle because you're mostly listening to the melody, and if you're not listening to the melody,
give us a little taste.
Sing the entire song right now. Go.
But there's like a little chorus of me harmonizing with myself where we go, feeling free, similarity. Like it's pretty subtle. And like right. And there's a little chorus of myself just doing like ahs in the reprise as well, like like
I didn't actually know that was you.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah, that's
it has like
wow.
it has like a lot of reverb on it to give it.
I remember I asked you, I was like, did you get like an entire choir to do this? And you're like, no, it's just me.
I hit up the choir.
Maybe it'd be interesting, Ben. You could release maybe on your channel like an a cappella version of it so that everyone could hear like your vocals.
That would be fun. I actually just this morning did upload to my channel a cover of a song that I did the other day where I do some harmonizing with myself. So you can check that out.
What's your YouTube channel?
Buddy 3.
Plug it.
J-I, the word buddy, and the number 3.
It's so good, you guys. Oh my god! If you love Just Like Me, you gotta go check out his channel. So.
And I haven't talked as much about the reprise yet, which is kind of more like a little bit more my style of singing. Like it's. And we wanted it to be to sound very sweet and authentic, so which is very different from the kind of hard rocker kind of vibe in the first one. So the biggest challenge was probably just nailing that stylistic difference in my voice between the two songs.
And maybe that goes back to why they asked Brain that question, because it was so different from your voice. You didn't even know. It's a testament to what you did. So
why isn't Brain on the stream right now?
I know.
He had better things to do, apparently.
Like getting a baby.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's so funny because both of the two versions, it has such a great story function, both of them. But like just like on their own, they're like so enjoyable to listen to them so many times. Great job. But like it was just like Just Like Me. It comes from, oh my god, there's fire trucks outside my window. Sorry.
Your house is burning. Get out.
Everybody.
I swear to God.
I've been there, done that.
Yes. But like it was then just a focus of, okay, so how do we then best get across this idea of Lightbulb then wants everyone like to then have like similar perspectives to her, like just fun, randomness, kind of like away from all of the drama, and then realizing with the reprise that there's a big difference between longing for that similarity and then realizing that everyone is like you. Well, not just like you.
But maybe they don't have to be. Yeah, exactly. I forget how it goes.
Yeah. What's actually pretty interesting is, you know how a lot of people say when you surround yourself with people who have the same opinions as you or really like just feed into what you believe in, you don't actually like hear the other side, so you don't really grow as a person. What's so ironic about the story is that Lightbulb only surrounds herself with people who are just like her and are only giving that kind of feeling, and yet grows from that. Like it didn't work the other way around, which is interesting.
Well, she grows from it because she realizes that it's not good.
Exactly.
All right.
Cool. How about we move on to Lauren's questions?
I get to ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just here for comedic effect.
No, you answer a
question.
question.
You kind of fill both roles.
Okay, here's my question that I picked out. Noodle asks, to anyone, who is your most favored character to animate/voice? And I kind of I wanna lean more in on the animate side, so I'll ask this to myself. I'll kind of leak in Taylor and Adam.
And then yeah, everyone else can just do the.
And everyone else can be quiet.
Okay,
So
you go first, Lauren.
I go first. Okay. Well, as you guys know, I voiced Traffic Light, who is really good, I guess. And that was just really fun because it was kind of just my normal voice, but I got really angry and really happy. And I didn't do any animation for this episode, which I probably won't be doing.
Well, you did, but you did animation, but you didn't do like actual.
I did the most minimal animation. I drew 11 frames, and that was pretty much it.
Oh, yeah, it's animation though.
Favorite character to animate. I liked the way you handled Bandana with the little knot that I did.
Oh.
For that.
Oh, because the knot kind of like lags behind. Yeah.
Yeah.
And also when Niall animated the thermos with the little drips.
Oh yes.
When he was hopping on that was also a nice touch. That's all I have to say. Does Adam go?
Oh, I mean, I always like animating Lightbulb. I think Lightbulb is super fun. The alternate characters are really cool, but I'm gonna say my favorite character to animate it's close. It's between Baxter and season 1 MePhone 4. I think that's a lot in terms of like diverse animation perspective, and yeah, I'm gonna go with that. What about you, Tim?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me think about this for a sec. I really, really enjoyed. Well, I really did like doing Traffic Light a lot, actually, just because, and I'm not just saying this because Lauren's here. I actually really enjoyed having all the different faces to kind of like, react to certain scenarios and just kind of like all these different diverse faces. But in terms of like season 1 characters, Paintbrush is super fun, at least to me, to animate.
Paintbrush is cool because she has like the little bristles that move.
Yeah, I really liked whenever I animate Paintbrush, I make sure that their hair kind of like just bounces every now and then.
The lags behind them as they
exactly. Yeah. And so I did the scene. One of the hardest scenes this episode for me was when Paintbrush like erupted and like had like the flames kind of like.
Oh man,
that was Lauren actually watched me animate that, so that was.
Yeah, I remember.
Does the problem? Yeah. And so it was actually really fun because animating. I know this is gonna sound weird, but animating angry characters just has so much like you get so much reward when you're doing it because you get to make characters just act so wild. And so with Paintbrush, it's such a joy because not only am I animating an angry character, I'm basically animating my own voice screaming, which is strange but also really kind of fun.
Like a cathartic relief.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Paintbrush is definitely, and that was one of the reasons I was really sad that Paintbrush went, because I was like, darn, I always really liked animating Paintbrush. I always liked giving Paintbrush longer limbs because I felt it looked better on them. As well as Paintbrush has always just been up there as one of my favorites ever since the beginning. And then I don't know why. I know this is kind of, I feel like I should mention this. Salt and Pepper were just really fun to do this episode because I really liked making them like sassy and like angry at people.
Angry and rational.
Yeah. That line was my favorite because I storyboarded that part, and I remember
you followed the storyboard like correctly.
There has to be props that goes to Alexa, the voice of both Salt and Pepper. Justin, voice
direction with her. It was a blast. She's a lot of fun to work with.
Take us back into the spotlight. She was so good. She nailed it. Every line is hilarious.
So there were so many
to get her back
that I loved, and I actually might want to share one later because I remember there was just a take that I loved. But the line where she goes like, "You sound really angry and rational," and I remember when she said it, I could literally envision the face of her going like, "Ugh, like so gross, rational," and like so. Just being able to get Alexa's
opinion that's different from mine. How dare you?
Right. Yeah, and you also you take a listen and you listen to how there actually is a very subtle difference the way that Alexa portrays Salt and Pepper. They are very similar, but there's also a subtle difference if you listen between them. At least I was able to just
Pepper's more like peppy. If you want to say
peppy.
If that's the joke.
I would like to give a shout out to Two Faces. The one where Pepper's like acts like an idiot and has like her face.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And
That was a
then
good one.
when Salt's trying to bend to drink like her beverage.
Oh, I did that. Yeah, I did that
So
as a joke.
dumb. Like those two faces are like.
I did that as a joke, actually. I wasn't really planning on putting that in the final animation because I was like, have you ever been sitting in a lawn chair and like you have like your drink right here and you're like you just can't reach it.
You can't get it.
I
I was
actually
like,
haven't
I
had
was
that
like,
problem.
Salt.
I'll take your word.
I was like, how would Salt bend to reach this? So I was like, I remember like I literally just drew her in the storyboard with like a bend in her and like she couldn't reach it. And I was like, I'm not gonna put this in the final animation.
Like,
It says can't bend in the storyboard.
can't
Yeah, this is the little thing. I was like, she can't bend, and I did it, so that was real fun. But let's
Pretty
go on to
demanding.
Brian and
Yeah.
Justin. Brian, who's your favorite person to voice?
My favorite person to voice. Wow, geez, I wonder. Well, you know what?
for us.
It's kind of funny. I get like, well, I'm like fan, obviously, but I have some other very subtle vocal work in the episode. There's two, and they're both in one scene. So the scene when Lightbulb and Test Tube first kind of meet all of the alternate reality characters, and they Lightbulb goes like, "Oh, this is Baxter. I like to think he had a created universe, or he'll end it." And then all the old timeline characters go, "Oh," and they all say different things. We didn't like recordings from everyone else, so I was like, "All right, let me just try something." I went into Audacity, did a bunch of different tracks of going like, if you listen, Hey Bale goes, as me, goes, "Well, that just giddies me up," and that's So I put all those.
Whenever somehow Brian can really do like he can really whenever there's like a bunch of crowd people talking, I usually always ask Brian to do. He somehow is able to just do a bunch of things together, and it sounds so hilarious because you hear like a bunch of people going like, "Oh," and then that just giddies me up, and I was like, "This is so perfect." So
just weep forever.
And the other one is when Lightbulb's going, "Hey, no need to make the competition so competitive." Brazone didn't do like the like right, so I just did the.
This is fine because Brian, I always asked you to do like the outtakes.
I literally didn't even know that.
I didn't know you did the.
That's me.
I voiced Lightbulb.
I voiced Lightbulb.
Secondary actor for Lightbulb.
Well,
let's Brian.
I like to think that
You also did the whispers.
I share it with
You also did the whispers. Remember?
Oh, the whisper. Which whispers?
When she turns to test tube and she gives like her plan.
I did. I don't even remember.
that one.
I'm pretty sure that was you. I'm pretty sure I asked you like, "Hey, Brazone didn't actually record a whisper sound," so I was like,
"Oh my god, maybe you're right." I forgot about that. I didn't even know. I'm just so talented. I can't. Nope.
Yeah, exactly.
While we're on the subject, can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
Because I don't actually know. I know Brazone tends to improvise a lot of lines for Lightbulb. Are there any in the episode?
You know, it's funny.
Improvised?
I think this was actually the least improvised Brazone episode that we've ever had. Like Brazone's more on this script than they usually do.
Right.
I remember I been more focused because there's key places for Lightbulb in this episode. Whereas when you have episodes where Lightbulb's just doing whatever, it's a lot easier to improvise. But in this scenario, we definitely need to. I know Brian was there, like specifically on staying on plot duty.
I was like, Brazone, like, let's get like the randomness in it, but we have to then make sure the story still gets through. But there were so many. I Drink When I'm Depressed is improvised.
No, it isn't.
And
no, it's not.
It made us laugh.
No,
and we were both like, but yeah, it's soda. We can do this. So then we just kept it. There are some.
I'm pretty sure
I've been working for a while.
Brazone always really likes making callbacks to like previous jokes, so I'm pretty sure the "but you can't be drowning" thing was also improvised.
Yeah, I think so.
If Brazone has any chance to do a callback, he will do that. But like Brian said, there were lots of parts of this episode where we kind of just asked Brazone like, "Hey, we're kind of going to need you to stick a little more to the script than usual. We know that we love when you improvise, but we might need you to be a little more on the script."
Yeah. And with the "when I'm depressed" line, I'm still shocked that you guys agreed to put that in. Like,
that's a great important line.
So funny.
I thought it was going to be like 2 PG-13. I don't know. But like,
no. When he said that, I added.
Animate Insanity is taking a new turn.
I was like, we have to do. He'd have one too, but he's never depressed. I was like, we got to put that in there now too. So like, I was all for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like when we were writing Lightbulb, it was just very much, we wanted to nail that voice, so we were trying to really then be in the spirit of what Grodin would do. But even then, when he would then come to record it, he would still like kind of add like his own flair to. I know like the very last line that he says about, you know, like, oh, like, hey, if you ever feel like you're at the bottom of the ocean, just look at this crab because that's where he lived. I know that line was worded a little bit differently, and he just kind of then tried to then do an approach that was very like innocent, very like kind of like thought on the spot, very like that's where he, because he knew that Lightbulb probably wouldn't have like a very like beautiful way of putting it. But as a result, it just becomes beautiful because it's so earnest and primal and in the
The
moment.
quirkity
So
do line too was definitely improvised.
Oh,
But-
yeah.
Where he
Oh,
said that
use that
I
word
can't take you
quirkity
seriously
do.
because he wasn't liking that one, right?
Yes.
Yeah, like
He
it.
wasn't
I don't
liking
like
how
it
often quirkity do was said. So then he was like, thanks, but I can't keep taking you seriously. We keep using that word quirkity do. He had about it.
I love that we got great Scott in there. Like, thanks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, we were pushed to.
We
Great.
gotta do back.
Sorry, I know
I think we had another backstory like right after that too. That one cut.
Okay, are we gonna do?
What was that?
I was gonna say we should definitely move on a little bit.
More
Sure.
questions.
All right.
Adam, now you can do your second question.
Holy moly, we're going back to me. Okay.
Finally, it feels like an
That's
eon.
drawing board, if you will.
I'm gonna go down one more because I think this question is a little similar to the previous one.
Yeah, I agree.
So we
Okay.
have a question
DC questions we've already like brushed over, then probably
Edie
this.
from Discord who writes, out of all the characters, why did you choose Microphone to be Taco's secret agent? I thought this would be an interesting topic, but I think it's just good to, first of all, figure out how it will benefit the story the most. Like, why is this just lead to a nice interaction, or does it have more of an overall significance? Is the first thing. And Microphone's whole story up to that point was being really looked at as being more annoying or out of the loop or a little bit too loud for everybody, a little bit on the outs. And we thought that that would be a great way to tie her into Taco and give them a little bit of a connection, because Taco is literally on the outs of the actual place, like hiding in the bushes. So it's a dynamic that I think we wanted to explore for a while, and I think it leads to some really interesting interactions because Microphone is a lot more of an innocent kid-like character, and Taco is a very like smart aleck, older sounding character, and I think that dynamic is cool. So yeah.
There was
Dynamic.
effort. Answer first, Justin.
I love their dynamic, but I think a lot of it was us thinking we wanted to bring Taco back to some extent. Would she be taking advantage of them? We did have this plot thread going of Microphone feeling like she's undervalued, and we wanted to explore that more. So we thought that combining the two would be really perfect to say, "Hey, you feel undervalued, but a value for you. I can make you feel important. We're gonna do something awesome, and you might get something like a friend is a weird word to put the two of them on right now, but you get a acquaintance out of it that won't disappear like that the pink one, whoever she was, not important.
Also, good
But
question.
I see you. I'm gonna help.
Why do people use microphones?
To make their voice bigger.
Okay.
It's bigger. Yeah.
I would argue it's to be heard in general.
Amplify
Yeah.
oneself.
They want to be heard in general, so they use a microphone so people can hear their voice. So it's kind of like, I think, Taco's subconscious way of wanting to be heard herself. Yeah. So I think there's a little bit of like,
And it was important to make it so it wasn't just like, all right, well then Taco's just gonna manipulate Microphone. Microphone is very aware that Taco is not necessarily someone to be trusted, or not someone who necessarily always has the best ideas. So they're not just like Microphone. She doesn't just do everything that Taco tells her to do. She has
As you
her
can see in
own
episode 11.
ideas. Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. As we see in episode 11, she doesn't want to use the temporary paralyzer, and in this one, she advocates, no, we're gonna give it back. I want to give it back to test tube. She has her own idea of what's the right thing to do. So she then takes some then sort of influence as to what then Taco says in terms of impacting the game, but then also then has her own then sort of like approach. Because you don't want then Microphone just be like, oh, well, I guess then, I know it's the wrong thing. So yeah, I'm really satisfied with their dynamic because I think they complement each other very well. It's just a nice back and forth.
Mhm.
So
I love that back. And you could say then it's not a one-to-one translation. Taco speaking into a microphone, it goes through a filter like any microphone does.
Very well put. Yeah.
You on.
All right, that was good. That was really good.
All right, next question.
All right, so the next question comes from the Suede twins, and they asked, how did you get the new voice actors on your show? And I think they're referring to the new
The alt characters.
from Inanimate Insanity Infinity.
Ah,
So I guess, well, you know, we had some backer characters.
Mike Wazowski.
Oh no.
Never mind. No Mike Wazowski. No, it's a false Mike Wazowski. There's
false
no
Mike
Mike Wazowski here.
Wait, hold on. We have to explain who Mike Wazowski is to everyone.
We don't clarify.
interrupting the question, Adam.
All right.
Word.
All right, so getting back to the question.
Where was I? I don't remember where I was.
You're talking about backer characters.
Oh, yes. Okay. So in this episode, we amongst the Inanimate Insanity Infinity characters, we had some backer characters that included Kumquat, Shell, and Black Hole. So we had reached out.
Forget Barrel. You're forgetting Barrel.
Barrel.
Oh, and well, yeah, Barrel's another story. We reached out to Tom Jennings and Finley and Chris, and we reached out to them and we said, you know, hey, we would like to, you know, incorporate your voice into the next episode. And we asked them what type of object would they like to be. We gave them the choice on who they wanted to be, and so. And then we asked them to send us a kind of like a clip of their voice so we could kind of get an idea. So we heard that, you know, Kumquat's voice was very energetic and very hyper. Shell was a little bit more childlike and a little like, you know, immature, but also still kind of like forceful voice, very, very like outspoken. And then Black Hole was a little more subtle and mysterious. And so once we kind of got these three in, we were like, okay, now we're going to really incorporate their roles into this new universe. And they were really, really fun. And along with them, we had some other characters that we wanted to involve. We had Haybell and Bandana, who were voiced by Madeline.
Madeline.
Madeline, excuse me. Sorry.
Oh my God. Fired.
Madeline, and she's one of Adam's friends. And actually, funny enough, I actually did the recording session with her last summer. I can't believe it's been so long. That you know, she was just like such a really energetic person, and it was so fun to really get her to voice these two different characters with like two different accents. You had Haybell going like, "Oh well, darn tootin'," and Bandanas were like, "Arg, no!" And so it was really, really great to get them both. And then of course we had Thermos and Chives. For Thermos, I really wanted.
I love the story behind Thermos.
Oh, Thermos is literally just Thermos, I just really wanted a character who would scream and do nothing but scream. And the only thing I wanted for Thermos was I wanted it to be Nile, because Nile's screams are beautiful. If you haven't heard
They
Nile's
are.
You had like a bunch of like files of Nile screams on your computer.
I literally have files on my computer that are just full of Nile screams.
That's the one.
I just was like, you know what? I can't envision any other sort of voice I want for this character. It has to be this scream. So Thermos is actually composed of a bunch of different old screams that Niall did and a bunch of new ones that I asked him to do, which ended up being really, really great. And he also did Chives because I really wanted Niall. Niall's voice seems perfect for Chives, and that worked.
He's got that nice British accent.
Yes.
It really worked.
Chives is
I love the conflict in his voice when Salt and Pepper start like arguing.
Oh yeah, please, ladies. I'm just trying to do it.
No. Like, I just love that dynamic there. That was great.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite parts of the whole episode.
Yeah, and then we also had Frank. Adam, you want to talk about Frank?
Yeah. So Frank was voiced by Dave Zhu, who's actually a storyboard artist also on the episode. He did a few of the scenes, one in particular being when Lightbulb and Test Tube come back and they have to quickly paint something. He storyboarded that, and him and Madeline both have always wanted to do a voice, so it just made all the sense in the world. And Bandana, there's kind of a significance there because Bandana's whole design is based on that one cartoon we put out, Treasure Time, that I did for school a little while back, and it's the same voice basically, except in that short it was literally just Madeline grunting, whereas in this she actually talks. So I thought it would be a cool tie between the two cartoons. Just trying to knock two birds with one stone with that one.
Yeah, that was a later question, but I'm actually good that you mentioned that. I didn't want to be the one to say that. I wanted you to say it, Adam. And then, well, the funny thing
was foreshadowed in episode 11, by the way.
Wait, what'd you say?
Frank is foreshadowed in episode 11.
Oh yes, we foreshadowed Frank and Kumquat in episode 11.
That's true.
Someone did notice Frank.
Frank one we were aware of at the time.
Kumquat wasn't planned because we didn't know. It just
we had no idea that a Kumquat character was actually.
Yeah, Kumquat was complete.
Yeah, Frank was definitely alluded to.
Yeah,
I don't even know who Frank is.
Yeah,
and then, that one we were like, haha, look at the clever thing we were doing.
Yeah, no,
look at the thing we didn't think about or plan at all.
We patting ourselves on the back. And then finally, the I don't think I'm forgetting anyone else aside from Traffic Light, who is voiced by beautiful Lauren right here. Who I had these concepts for the characters, and I had little sketches that I had for them that I really wanted to do, including Thermos and
I remember you came to me. I showed you my mic recording setup, and we're like, we have a voice for everybody except for Traffic Light. We just don't know who to do. And I was like, I can do it because I got a good mic. And I was like, okay, you just do it.
Yeah, I remember you did it. I remember you submitted. I was like, you're like, what do I have to do? I was like, record yourself 3 times and make yourself really happy, really angry, and then like you just don't care. And you're like, okay, that's fine. And so that's what you did, and that's how we got Lauren on board as Traffic Light, and he did a phenomenal job.
Nah.
And there was a Barrel.
Oh yeah,
Barrel's voice actor is the best.
Voice actor.
Barrel.
Oh yeah, that's true. That was a hard fight. That was a really good one.
Barrel, I actually just love because I really wanted. There was that line, the barrel of laughs, which was written before we included Barrel, and so of course we were like, we have to make like some sort of allusion to actual Barrel, like over on the side. And
that was the last physical addition that we put in. Like in terms of the edit, that was the last literal change I made in the timeline, and we were having a very last minute discussion whether or not to have the cutaway be on the line specifically or just have a second of silence. And but I like what we picked. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So so that kind of answers that whole thing. Brian, how about we go to your second question?
Okay, I think
similar.
we basically touched on the next one that I had, so I'll skip to my next, which was from Jennings as yet untitled. Oh, that's a familiar.
Oh wow, that's Tom Jennings. That's voice of Kumquat.
That's the voice of the Kumquat, everybody. When coming up with the time travel storyline, what gave you the idea to make Salt and Pepper the antagonists, and how did you come up with the Infinity Contestants besides Hey Bill and Frank? So we kind of touched on like the Infinity Contestants, but why were then Salt and Pepper the antagonists? I think then that's something that we haven't really talked about yet. And I think it was really just coming down to this idea of we loved Salt and Pepper in a really kind of different way than we love some of the other characters, which is that we knew that they were kind of, they were trashy, they were very, so we wanted to then see, is there a way to then incorporate them into an episode?
Well,
and
this
just
was
really
planned for a while, actually.
This was planned. Yes, this was planned for a while, and then they could like just be the ringleaders of this time, because like not only then would it be so interesting, it's almost like it's like almost perfectly set up. It seems in episode 1 of them Salt jumps doesn't want to jump. Pepper goes. Salt's like, oh my god, I'll save you. Pepper goes after the whole idea. Like they're not agreeing. They don't then they're contrasting viewpoints, and Lightbulb doesn't like that. Lightbulb wants everyone to think exactly the same. So Lightbulb says, stop contemplating, follow your dreams, so you stick together in one. Salt and Pepper are a great, perfect example of 2 shades of just, oh yeah, they are exactly the same, and even they like mirror and they'll say certain lines like at one, like they say, you don't seem to be either one. They say that line at the exact same time. So it really just fit thematically in this way of like, okay, we're getting across this notion of people who are exactly like each other, seemingly so in tune with each other, and then finding the toxicity in that. So it really just worked for this particular episode, but also just fun, and Lexi did such a great job voicing them, and they're hilarious.
Phenomenal.
And, phenomenal.
I definitely thought it'd be great to have like a dual leadership there, and I think out of all the characters that that we stuck behind in season 1, I think that they're definitely had the potential to be the scariest in a position of power, and definitely had a different mindset compared to everyone else. So I thought it'd be a lot of fun to bring that out. I mean, the majority of it comes down to the either one that Brian dove into, which is a big building block of their characters, especially since I think at a point we wanted to have a very similar story way back in season 1 when we said like contestant votes. So way back when Salt would be branching off and trying to become her own person, and it's not a direct parallel there, but it was. I think it's always been in our mind to have something included that has them driven apart in some sort of manner. Whereas in that one, it'd be like a positive transition. And this one, it's like they've been together for so long that that tension between them is like violent on the spot. And I love how it concludes come the end.
Yeah, it's really like we were kind of talking about before, when you surround yourself with people who are only like you and don't challenge your viewpoints at all. The second that happens, after not having to go through that the whole time, it just instantly sets them off. And it's like Lightbulb was so upset because Paintbrush and her couldn't work together, and you just see this dynamic where it's the opposite, where they do nothing but work together seamlessly, and then the second they have a disagreement, it just like ignites.
Right.
It's like a very interesting dynamic there, like to compare them, you know.
Yep, exactly. Latching on.
Right.
All right, Justin.
Yeah, what I have is my second one. I mean, I guess they weren't in any particular order, but from Noe Nikes, or Nikes, Noe Nikes. What do you guys feel about the bright lights and Grand Slams merging? And I thought this was an interesting one to hit on because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of discussion on like the purpose of specifically merging in this episode, fan base wise. But I wanted to just hit on the fact that how with the collapse of sorts that occurred in episode 11, we wanted everything to feel the tension of this is where things have sort of changed, and people have to like rethink their positions on the show. Due to something that was a very stable mark of the show was the trio alliance within the Grand Slams, and how could we allow the audience to feel the weight of that moment in the same manner in which the contestants are, and it's also very, very important for Lightbulb, and Brian was talking about earlier how this would push Paintbrush in a different direction and start up this chain of events that would lead Lightbulb down, feeling dismayed and separated and wanting people to stick together and wanting to see everything coincide with one another, and not feel so distant and separate. I thought it was probably the key time to hit that on that merge, especially since in the case that we did keep the teams together, a lot of it wouldn't really be putting a spotlight on the Grand Slams in the first place, since we knew that we didn't want to stick around with them for too much this episode, because we wanted to give them some time off. It's a breather episode of sorts in that regard, at least. But and we stick to the bright lights, who if they were still within their team dynamic, it wouldn't be changing all that much. So it was definitely an important route to go down.
Perfectly said.
Right.
That's everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was actually perfect. I have nothing to add. You said it perfectly.
Yep.
Okay.
Brian, I forgot Ben only had one question, so it's my turn now.
Ben, chime in whenever you want, by the way. You don't be beholden to not having.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like if you ever want to chime in with something,
Oh, sure.
totally, yeah.
Or chive.
Or chive in. High five.
Other ideas you want to discuss?
leave that
Because I could talk episode 12 all day.
All right.
Lauren, how about we go to your second question?
CEC Waterberry asks, what was your favorite part of making this episode?
Yay. Okay, so how about Adam? You should go ahead and talk about what was your favorite part about making this episode.
Oh man, I think for me personally, just exploring two things, right? I think mostly exploring the crazy world and how I can visually make it as crazy as it was. And one of the questions I got that that I haven't gotten to yet, but it'd be good to touch on is like if I painted the backgrounds or not. I did not. That was our background painter, Sean Thurlow. He does an amazing job. But what I provide him every time is I do like a few sketches of the world, and then I write a note document out of like all the details that I want, and I give him like reference images. And it was really important for me to capture that similarity with the normal world, but also how disturbing it is. Because if you have nothing to compare it to, then it's not going to seem off, right? It's just going to seem like a new area. And we wanted it to really seem like weird and like off-putting. So that was super fun, and just seeing the whole world so dysfunctional, and kind of the eeriness when they just start like repeating things to Lightbulb that she's saying. And Salt and Pepper did some other things too. I think that was super fun. The death punch and everything was great. I had fun with that.
I really was looking forward to the death punch. But go on.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that got in there, and just like all the funny jokes. I'm happy with the lighthearted tone that the episode had, that it carried throughout the whole thing. It wasn't as heavy as the past two, which I thought was a good touch for this kind of dynamic, and I thought it was just super fun all around. So,
something that I definitely really want to touch up on about at least my favorite part working with the episode was even before we did the storyboards, or at least with the storyboards in mind, the actual audio creation for this episode was so fun, specifically because of this alternate timeline and all the new techie, sound effects that we wanted to use. And, even when Taco goes invisible, it's really, really fun to put the audio together for this episode in particular, just because it was just it was like a breath of fresh air to do something new and do something different. And I really think that we also emphasize that a lot in our storyboards and as well as in our animation, along with what the backgrounds, but kind of highlighting on what Adam was saying. When we got to the alternate universe, everything was a little bit different. The way the characters spoke to each other, the way the characters really just like, interacted. And really, I really thought that when we entered the new timeline, it like I said, it was like a breath of fresh air, but not exactly fresh air. You kind of felt weird. You were like, something doesn't seem right here. And that's almost exactly what Test Tube's like. Something seems off about this place. And I loved having like Thermos screaming for like almost all the time, like over people's lines, and then having Black Hole have all these weird effects. And then Adam brought up the punch scene, because I remember, like we said before, that wasn't originally in the script. And so once we included that, I was like, oh, this I want to make like a really dramatic part. And so it was so fun to combine a bunch of different noises to have like the fist, and then once it impacted, having her fly into Black Hole. There was just so much chaos that was happening in this episode, that once you put it all together, I think everyone maybe will agree with me, is that for the most part, when we make the episodes, it's all made in sections. You don't really get to see it all put together except in the animatic and finally when we're editing. And so, all the actual final scenes together, everything else is really just, bits and pieces of the storyboard and bits and pieces of the writing and bits and pieces of the audio and some animation too. So one of the most gratifying moments to me is when you actually get to view the episode as one collective, video. It's such a interesting, feeling to finally see all the work you've done stitched together into one giant project. So that to me is one of my favorite parts.
I love time travel mechanics and tropes and just those kinds of stories. So much fun to do. I love them and I love playing around with it. Because then so many of them have like lines that need to exposit. Like you could change anything about it if you so much as, so that's where if you so much as change a twig here, you could inadvertently change the Test Tube steps on a twig. That twig, there's a tombstone for the twig later. I love doing those kinds of gags. Those are so much fun. Back to the first episode, changing something and having everything be different. Able to fix the problem by still not creating what's called in time travel a grandfather paradox, which is stopping yourself from making the initial mistake. They still let themselves think they've made the mistake, but since it's a reality show, you can do it works out, like all the mechanics of it work out, but all that to me though is secondary to connection. I love that so much. I was really then just proud of how just the tone of it, I think Adam was touching on before. This is just sort of the perfect sensibility for what we need for an episode like about them and test tube and just sort of like the bright lights kind of like in general. It's just this really just like spontaneous, fun, bright, but still very like heartfelt and connecting. And there is a lot of chaos too, but there's the quiet moments when necessary. And just like in the juxtaposition of this then crazy world and everything that's learned, just having light bulb and paintbrush, sit down at the calm down corner, going back to that location, having a nice, grounded, slow talk about everything. And of course, paintbrush being gender non-binary, everything about that. I was so satisfied with how it built up, and that payoff is so deep, and I'm very, very, very proud.
I would definitely like to agree that there is a big tone in this episode that you don't really feel in many others. I think almost every episode has a tone to it, but maybe that's just me because I feel episodes also throughout the process as well. But something I also want to note is that Brian was kind of like our time travel guru here, because whenever I had a question like, what would happen if they did this? What would cause the end? And Brian would be like, well, let me go into like a 20-minute monologue to explain, how time travel works for this specific thing. But it was really, really important because time travel is a very touchy thing because, I remember originally I had suggested, why don't they just go back and stop themselves? And Brian's like, that's a paradox. You can't do that. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know these rules. And Brian's like, that's why you have me. So props.
He said it in that voice.
Keeping us on track for, time travel rules and stuff. But anyways, Justin, were you going to say anything?
For favorite aspect of working on the episode, I think I'm so excited about how we were able to be able to focus in on a single character and just work theming through the really one character's lens. You get that hero's journey kind of realm in which you're literally going into the separate world and focusing really on one character that we can't really get in other episodes. So I think that if we were able to break away from what we were able to do in a way that seemed pretty coherent to everything else going on, but also the calm down corner scene is something that I envisioned for so long, and just being able to put them in there and just have a quiet moment for them together. I guess, yeah, favorite aspect of this episode is being able to just focus in on a single character's mindset and journey, and letting it be Lightbulb, who a character which a lot of people, for good reason, will put up as saying, she's. I do really, really love digging into her mentality in these kinds of situations, in a very bleak kind of situation, which Lightbulb isn't very much used to dealing with, but it's kind of, being a bright light, she has her friends, and it's natural that comes in the episode. It's gonna more lighthearted than a grand slam collapse from the in the previous episode.
And you're very right, Justin. It's so focused, and I think that, as Taylor said, gives it that distinct episode tone that it doesn't feel like the other episodes. But I'm proud of that. I really like that. So,
it feels like a light bulb episode.
It's a light bulb episode,
Which is almost as like that was the intention.
Almost.
Ben, what do you think? Do you think that there was kind of like a what was your favorite part, at least for the episode? I know that you mostly talk about the song, but like just in terms of anything else?
Well, the question was favorite part of working on the episode.
Sure, yeah.
And, besides the song, which was probably my favorite part of working on this episode, was the first time I got to I storyboarded scenes that were not animated by myself as well. So it was really, really interesting to get to storyboard a scene and then see it later completed. And that was really gratifying.
Yeah. Well, Ben, you also storyboarded and animated for this episode as well. I think it's important to note that this goes for whether you're a storyboard artist or an animator. Well, specifically for storyboard artists, when you actually do a storyboard and then you hand it off to somebody else, you're kind of like giving them the freedom to do what they want, but also kind of just follow what your vision was. And so Niall did the scene that Ben storyboarded. And I remember I was really, really excited to have Ben storyboard the montage because I knew he had such a specific vision during the montage. And I remember seeing the storyboard for the first time, and I was like, this is going to be so incredible. I was so hyped for that part of the episode. And there was you even threw in your own personal gags in there as well, even some references, right?
Yeah. Wait, I'm trying to think of what you're referring to.
Like visual references, like the props and stuff that you put inside of the animatic or inside of the storyboard. Are
Or
there
like the
anything-
friend.
or anything particular?
Oh, like the Friends reference.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was fun. That was actually, I think, Justin's idea, actually. Because I remember. Yeah, I think
I
so,
don't-
right?
Really?
Yeah, no, I think that's right.
But,
We were like just kind of we were like
um,
jotting down ideas for then everything that could then potentially be in the montage. And another thing that then we were trying to focus on was just Lightbulb then, because Lightbulb is trying to evade all of the seriousness, the drama of then what's been going on. So, but still can't completely escape it. She's then toasting things, and then there's a marshmallow. Playing an Animate Insanity board game. Oh, nice and fun. This card says surprise double elimination. Oh, geez, can't get away from it.
I remember the goal for the montage was specifically to progressively get more chaotic. Like they go from, like painting and toasting things to juggling chainsaws.
Right.
Juggling chainsaws was
And we tried to make that coincide also with the kind of shift in the music itself. Like the first verse is kind of more like a little bit more laid back, playful fun. And each of those activities that she does during that part of the song, some part of it reminds her of the reality that she left behind. Whether it's the paintbrush in her hand, or the marshmallow that she sees, or the reminder of the double elimination when she's playing the Inanimate Insanity board game. And it's when she flips the board for the board game that there's this shift. It gets more extreme. They're jumping on trampolines, they're scuba diving, they're literally juggling chainsaws. Now, at this point, Lightbulb is trying to do things to completely forget about what she left behind. And at that moment, there's also a shift in the music. It becomes a lot more dynamic and kind of rebellious rockery than it was for the first half of it. And I'm just really happy with how all of that really fit together.
Absolutely. It really came out phenomenal.
Yeah.
I still when I saw it completely finalized in there, I'm like, wow, we did this.
Yeah. I mean, huge for the montage, huge thanks to Niall, who animated it, Loren, who provided tons and tons of props for it, because there was a lot of crazy shenanigans going on.
When I saw that in the board, I was just like, oh.
I remember you were like, you were saving that for last.
Yeah,
It was a lot.
And also to Sean for the amazing backgrounds he did, like the underwater background.
It was so cool.
Beautiful.
We got to put that on Twitter or something.
Yeah.
That was.
We can ask him to share it or tag him in it or something like that. Loren, how about what was your? I mean, you mostly created props, but was there any specific part of the episode that you felt was like your absolute favorite?
I liked making test tubes, like roughed up asset.
Oh yeah.
Well, I remember specifically that in the storyboard, we wanted her to be tied to the pole, but we didn't really know.
Oh, the duct tape. Yeah,
and
okay.
the duct tape.
Yes,
Talk about
That's
duct
my
tape.
favorite part,
Yes.
because we wanted her to be tied to the pole, but we somewhere in the storyboard it just switched to duct tape, and I was just like, do you guys want me to make the duct tape? And they were like, yeah, do that. And so I just thought,
but I didn't.
salt and pepper are really stupid, so they just put pieces of duct tape on that didn't matter. There's just, a duct tape on both the rings and stuff.
I like that. I remember I was animating a specific part where she was tied to the pole, and either it was my brother or a friend who was there watching me animate, and they literally just said, why is there a piece on her head? It doesn't do anything. And I'm like, that's the point. And they're like, I don't get it. I'm like, that's the point. I was like, not supposed to have any function. They just put it there to make her look stupid and whatnot.
My dad
almost
walked by.
We were trying to duct tape her, and she was trying to fight against them, and they were like, no, it just got everywhere.
Yeah, my dad walked by when I was animating that scene when it's like, you guys are taking our fame, tighten it up and stuff. And test tube's tied like this. My dad's like, oh, what happened to her?
Oh, she had a bad day.
Yeah, exactly. It just
Your dad
looked
would
terrible.
just walk in the room and just make the most sly comments. I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure one time he walked in when I was doing Thermos, and he was just kind of like, I want him eliminated right now.
Oh, that guy's annoying.
Okay, I have one more favorite part, and then we can move on.
Yeah.
I liked making 6 out of the 8 paintings for.
I forgot the
Not too bad.
process too.
Wait, do I have the textbook or the notebook with me? Oh,
6 out of the 8
because
paintings, and also the background for the
I
end
wonder if
credit
I
scene.
have the original drawings with me somewhere.
Yes.
Hold on. Because it's important to note that the paintings. Oh, I don't know if I have the notebook anymore. Probably at home.
Wait, didn't you tweet out the image of like the original sketched painting?
Oh yeah, you know what? I could. Yeah. Oh well, Lauren shared the actual paintings themselves, but for the
assets.
for the actual.
Yeah.
So for the paintings, we had decided like who would draw what and what would actually come of this, and so we decided what each person would paint and everything, and so I would sketch a drawing in a textbook or notebook, and then send it to Lauren, and then I'll put it in on my computer. I'd line art it, then I'd send it to Lauren, who would add like a painting effect to it.
Yeah,
and
I use Adobe Animate CC, and all the other guys use like, what do you guys use?
Yeah.
Flash CS6 mainly.
CS6.
Use Animate.
Oh,
Okay.
Ben's a cool one.
So it was interesting because I would just give him the lines and he would.
Yeah, I have a bunch of like paintbrush like lines.
Yeah, so it was really interesting to send it to him and then he'd send it back. Maybe one time I'll tweet out or something like that. Some of the drawings that I did. I mean, they look nearly exactly the same as the actual paintings that we see, but it would be cool to see them again. I remember Lightbulb's original painting wasn't going to be of the characters. It was going to be a little drawing of Baxter or something like that. That she was just.
Oh yeah.
But then we realized she actually paints during the montage. So I was like, okay, we'll make her use that painting instead.
Yeah, it made total sense, and the asset was done, and it tied cool. It's like she brought a piece of that.
Yeah, she did. I like that too.
Which was eventually just burned like 10 seconds later.
Yeah, which is interesting. Which there can be something about that, right? Like, oh well, that's all behind her now. It's burned. It's literally gone. So
that's a hard way to put it.
It's erased. Dang.
All of them are literally erased. Like they're gone. So
they're not. They
remaining.
Not in my heart.
You did in the past is Salt and Pepper's fear of crabs.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah. We should definitely highlight on that later when we get to
okay.
But Adam, you should go on to your next question.
Okay, this could potentially be the last round, but we'll see.
Wow.
Because our rounds go for a long time.
We could literally just
chose
talk about
like 10.
Yeah.
We
covered a lot.
10 question each.
So the next question, I actually touched on, which is nice. So I can go on to the next one. From TI Awesomeness on Discord. How do you create your characters and their personalities? I was just wondering your process. So I guess this is less so of an episode 12 question, but I know that we had a lot of the alternate characters to touch on. But really, it started off with a lot of the, okay, what object is this? How can we make that into a person? What would a person act like if they were talking paintbrush? So it was really just kind of touching on that thing. Some of them are more ironic than others. Whereas, like paintbrush literally has trouble showing their creativity, where Lightbulb is like really eccentric and off the walls and isn't the brightest bulb or whatever. So some of them are more ironic and then others are more straightforward. But we really just touch on that and then think, okay, how do we take that trait and really push it as hard as we can for the story too? Like, how do we tie it into the overall plot? Because there's really no point in like just making a character and shoving them in there for no reason. Like, we really try to make there be a significance to why they're there or why they're contributing at all. And I think that a lot of these alternate characters, what's interesting about them is they all have their own unique identity, but they really all represent the same thing, which is this like chaoticness, this similarity in thinking and something that challenges Lightbulb to actually make a change. So it's finding that balance there too. That was really hard, honestly, because we didn't want them to all be, it started off, I was very much like, we should make them all like clones of each other, like literally all the same person. And I think that we found a good middle ground at giving them all an identity, but all representing the same idea. So yeah, I know that was kind of long, but I hope that answered the question.
I think that basically answered it. I mean, I think we also are kind of trying to speed up just a little bit. So, but I think that was perfect. I don't have anything else I really want to add, unless Brian, Justin, anyone else want to say anything?
The only thing I could think of is that reminded me that originally we had an Alt's timeline paintbrush that was going to be zany like all the other ones, but I think then we decided to veer from that. That was my idea. I think we veered from it because then the message becomes too obvious because, of course, then Lightbulb shouldn't hang out with this paintbrush because this isn't the real paintbrush, and, so we just made it a little subtler. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Okay,
go ahead, Justin.
Bryant Taylor's turn.
Well, Justin, did you have anything else to add? Unless.
I was just gonna dig deeper into that, but there's another question coming up that I could
Do you
take
have
on
anything
that.
to answer or no?
No.
Jump to the next one.
Okay. Actually, I'm gonna skip around between my questions. I'm gonna highlight this one because it's actually important. Brian just brought up the idea of the alternate universe paintbrush, because somebody asked from Antsy Prone, where was OJ in Inanimate Insanity Infinity? And I feel like this is a very important thing to highlight. I don't usually like to give out the answer right away. I usually like to make people think, because we kind of did give the answer in the episode. You just kind of have to pay attention a bit.
Yeah.
Not only OJ, but where were all the season 1 characters in Inanimate Insanity Infinity? And the answer is, you know what happens to those ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Ouch.
They're all dead.
Yeah. So unless I'll just kind of straight up say it. We had some lines that kind of alluded to that. Kumquat says, what happens to those ones? Black Hole literally says millions have like fallen into my abyss. And the answer is, what? Think about what happened to Test Tube, and that was interrupted by Light Bulb, and and everything. But maybe some other characters didn't have the same fate. So
yeah, and I think Salt or Pepper literally says, we just asked the MePhone to replace the contestants.
Exactly,
like literally replace them. So
that, that's why you don't see anyone from season 1, because what happens to those.
God.
They're replaced.
We had a gag though that included one of the contestants at a point, and I think it's okay to say this. At a point in the script for a really brief time, we had a gag where Salt and Pepper the curtains, and out they go, and through a flap in the curtain, you might be able to see OJ behind the stage in a test tube like scenario.
Pretty sure I immediately shot it down, and I was like,
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. So, no, but it's also important to note, and I actually, this is serious. I actually really wanted to bring this up, is that it's not only the season 1 characters who were thrown into Black Hole. There's potentially plenty of others, because this is the reason it's called Inanimate Insanity Infinity, is because it's never going to end. It will go on forever, because they will continue to replace contestants, and the ones they don't like, they just toss away.
And another thing, Infinity, I don't think a lot of people have noticed this, but Salt and Pepper say you could go through 2 portals, go through one.
That's a question later. Brian, you're already answering.
Brian, you're ruining the stream.
Go for it.
This is important.
You should answer this.
We're not going to have time to get to that other question, so I'll just say it quickly now. So it's like you either release to the Dark Abyss, which is Black Hole, or you get to come back and try again. What that means is you would go through that portal and literally just be back in front of the 2 portals again, and then you have to keep making a choice until finally, eventually, you would have to go into Black Hole.
It was one of 2 choices, and you could continuously choose option 2 until you eventually choose option 1, and it would just be an endless loop.
Oh, it's like eternal torture.
So,
jumping through a portal and coming back out.
I found that a lot of people don't exactly seem to get that joke, and I think it's how it's written, because we had it as you come back and try again. So a lot of people think it's just you come back and you're in the competition again. Maybe something's different. I just heard one theory that's you're brainwashed a little bit. But the intention there it should have been written as, I believe, you could come back and choose again. So that that the only thing you can do is keep choosing. You can go through option 2 for however long you want.
I'll be honest, I only just now realized that's what that joke was.
I did too.
Yeah, exactly. I know.
The joke is that you literally come back and you have a choice between option 1 and option 2 again.
I didn't know that. I assumed it meant you get another chance at the game.
No.
Until you slip up again.
No.
I remember we didn't originally have option 2. It was just you're eliminated.
That's hilarious. I love that.
We originally didn't have the second option. It was just eliminated and you're tossed away. But we were like, how much funnier would it be if they have a second option, but it's not even an option. It just means that it's almost like you click it and you unclick it, because you can't even choose it. It's just you have to choose one, or you're stuck in this endless loop. So
it's not enough for Salt and Pepper to kill people. It's they have to make it so it's their choice.
Right.
They're not killed. They're put to sleep.
Yeah.
Right.
Golly.
Yeah. All right.
Brian.
Your
Going to a Brian question.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll do from Skater Cheese, which is a wonderful name. So don't tell. They're quoting. I think this comes from is this a Justin Tumblr post? So don't tell is important, but should not come at the cost of a satisfying ending. Is that from a Justin journal?
It could be.
Okay. I think that's from your recent thing you talked about writing. But yeah, the question was, why did you not to show the climax and conclusion of the Marshmallow Apple arc in episode 12? Do you have plans to expound on it further in another episode, or did you feel it had no place? And I really want to touch on this because
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I was seeing about how people were like, so is it just, are we never going to see them again or what? So this is the thing. We just saw in the last episode, it's then the perspective of Marshmallow and Apple, and they then kind of they go off seemingly then back to the mansion. It's then sort of left on something of an ambiguous note. You want to then keep that ambiguity going for a while, and you want to then return to the perspective of Paintbrush had no idea where Marshmallow was going. No, and if this is an episode from the perspective of Lightbulb and Paintbrush, so they don't know where Marshmallow is. Marshmallow isn't in the episode, so does that mean that Marshmallow, Apple, Bo, Doe, the mansion that'll never come back? Of course not. But it's just not in this episode for that reason, and it gives you some more. I think there should be time, like in the overarching story, to just let it sink in. There was a very big then movement forward that happened in terms of that story progression, and yeah, just what's going to happen next? Then, like, we'll get to it.
I think it's important to also note, Justin pointed this out to me, which I did not know. This is the first episode of Inanimate Insanity where Marshmallow does not appear physically.
Whoa.
Wait,
Yep.
I mean,
Unless you count
In the
5.5, like,
5.5.
You see her silhouette
right,
on
yeah.
Meatpad screen,
That's
too.
true, you do.
She's kind of there.
Yeah, she's kind of is, but this is the first time she physically does not appear. She appears in every episode, except for 5.5 in season 1, and every episode in season 2 until this one. So I remember just pointed that out to me, and I was shocked. I didn't realize that.
It's crazy.
Was Marshmallow the highest
jumping off of what Brian was saying.
character from season 1, or was that Apple? I think it was Apple, but it was close.
Apple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think Marshmallow has been in the game for the longest out of everybody. Then
Whoa.
I would think.
Yeah. But it had most competition episodes, definitely.
Yeah, because Apple got voted out way earlier.
Apple survived longer than Marshmallow in season 1.
Apple,
Right.
Apple beat
One,
her in the
but
math
it-
contest.
She got eliminated episodes ago.
Oh yeah, it's true.
So, altogether.
AOJ,
Yeah.
I was
everyone's
gonna say
favorite
that-
one.
Yep, AOJ.
It's incredibly.
No, what's happening? Bye bye. Yeah.
It's super important that we get across the tone of Marshmallow's disappearance having a heavy weight on the audience in the same way that it has on Lightbulb and Paintbrush. Yep. Although I think it's also important to note that Marshmallow's decision come the end of episode 11 is her saying, this show is toxic. I don't have anything to do with it. And the idea of the reality show is having an insight into someone's life that outside of their general control. So I think it's almost respectful not to, at least for the time being, let Marshmallow go off and do her own thing outside of the reality show realm, and because that's the decision she came to on her own. The pieces of where she is right now, outside of, let's say, a certain Twitter Purgatory Mansion picture that we had a while back.
Yes.
But the pieces are there in which Marshmallow says, "Hey, I'm gonna stick here, and we're gonna figure this out at least. We're gonna at least make an attempt towards this on the condition that I could bring on." And of course, Apple is her target, as we find out at the end of the episode. And the fact that Marshmallow does not return to the game, you know that she is at Purgatory Mansion and something is working on some matter. I do agree that there isn't exactly a solid resolution there, but there's purpose there for the time being, at least.
Right. Twitter's outside the show. So there you go.
It's not canon.
Well,
I like to say that anything that we answer on Twitter or put on Twitter or answer in like the Tumblr, I put it as like second level canon, meaning that
Canon.
Yeah, meaning that unless something in the show help me out, Justin. Unless it
Is explicit.
contradicts it.
Yeah.
Perfect. Unless it contradicts it,
Contradicts.
you can consider it as canon. Like if I answer a question, but like if all of a sudden in the show something else happens, like then disregard whatever was said on Tumblr. Or,
Yeah, that's fair.
We're like the Star Wars.
Also, mind that is where you make it, because media is just, you interpret it, and it is you your own life. So you make do with what you have in front of you, and if canon doesn't work for you, then it doesn't exist. That's just
You gotta do
Yeah,
what's best for the story. You know, if you say something and you think that it would be better for the story to not do that, then you don't have to worry about holding up to the canon and whatnot. Like, you just got to do what's best for the show. So, at least that's how I see it.
Yep.
Exactly.
While keeping
So
it
how-
consistent. You can't just
How
like
do we
dump
move
it.
on to so that last one was Brian's question, I want to say.
It was
So let's
Yeah.
go to Lauren.
What about
Wait.
Justin?
Justin.
Oh, Justin, I totally just skipped by you.
Taylor. You can't forget
I'll
about
jump in. It's a sort of similar question to one I posed earlier, but I want to hit on a few different things. The question is from Commander Taka, and it is, were there any ideas that you liked but got cut from the final episode? So before we had mentioned about strips, storylines, we cut out that outside more details. And I think the biggest thing that I really liked that we had in the outline that we couldn't get into the final episode due to time was we initially had a scene in the episode at the very beginning that was a knife and paintbrush scene where they have a conversation following the merge, but before Paintbrush breaking the news to Lightbulb, in which we start constructing some themes of the episode that we were very much wanting to hit on, of the more threatening veteran characters and how they're seen by others. And PB saying, "Yeah, we're the oldies. We can stick together." And PB kind of trying to look cool in front of Knife, and Knife just being whatever about it. And the conversation between the two of them leading Paintbrush to think, okay, maybe I should start drawing some distance between me and Lightbulb, and then setting that up at the very beginning of the episode as we're kind of scary ones, and then at the very end of the episode having them be the two key components of the elimination. And I thought the theming there was really tight, but we had to get rid of it due to time. A few other little things that I thought were really good at the time. There's a really quick beat where I think Brian wrote this one. First trying to make the attention of the alternate reality contestants, everything just comes to a halt, and everyone is terrified of Salt, and showing that Salt has this greater presence over the alternate reality than Pepper did.
Right.
I don't think that
Yeah, Pepper's trying to ring the
I don't
bell,
think-
and like, why isn't anyone listening? And then Salt goes, one ring, and then everyone goes silent.
Yeah.
I think that was a really cool, tense moment.
I
Though
agree.
I do think that one it was better to cut that one. So I don't think we needed the foreshadowing to the conflict at the end, and I think the suddenness of it actually makes it better.
I think so too.
Yeah, I definitely will say that like there are a couple like ways that when you see how like Pepper talks to Salt and the way that Salt talks to Pepper, like you can see that there's a bit of like a power dynamic between them.
Salt, what do we do?
Yeah,
Exactly.
Pepper
Yeah.
turning to Salt and literally asking her like, what do we do? Like I'm asking you because Pepper kind of subconsciously knows that like what
Pepper's really stupid.
she has
Well put, Lauren.
don't underestimate her powers. Which is actually really funny because that line from episode 7 was
God.
foreshadowing. But I do remember that there were a couple other ways that we were going to show that Salt was higher on the on the tier list
On
than
the BCFF list.
yeah, exactly. So is there anything else you remember, Justin, from or Adam or Ben?
I was planning on hitting on how at a point, instead of having the alternate contestants that we threw in, there'd be some of those, but there would also be a lot of the original contestants, but they would all be Lightbulbified, like Brian mentioned earlier, how Paintbrush
They would all be
like a goofy lurching for screen time, and Lightbulb would be able to connect with them in a more intimate manner. Though I think Brian was hitting on earlier how it was for the best that we scrapped that, and I think Taylor was pushing the most to make sure that it stayed consistent with the with how the timeline would work, in that they would just have all been dealt with come that point.
Yeah.
So,
One
but
thing
that was a lot of fun.
good.
And there was a lot more focus on moments like how we had how good can it really be? All the alternate characters making like a little more comfortable. There's a little more focus on that originally. There was a longer calm down corner scene initially that we were pushing for, but again, that's another time thing, unfortunately.
Yeah, there was originally literally a giant clock tower in the middle of the world.
Oh my god, I forgot about that.
It had a screen time meter on it, and it would have like everyone else and then Salt and Pepper, and there'd be like a dial, and it would go back and forth. And when it would go past like the green zone, they would be like, "That's enough," and they'd like ring a bell, and everyone would have to shut up, or they'd get like thrown into the.
I do remember this, and I remember that you really wanted the clock tower, and
it was a lot more dark on the surface. Like it was very obvious on how the world was set up, whereas this was more of like a slow burn, where it got revealed a bit over time, which I think makes sense because they're going in blind too. Yeah, you know, so you are like light bulb and test tube in that situation.
Exactly.
You're more confused. Yeah, but I like that idea. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah.
It was very funny, but yeah, it's just picking the best, you know, that made all of these made a lot of sense for like a first draft, but then you kind of figure it out, you figure ways to subtly integrate everything, and it's good.
No, some ideas on the surface seemed like they worked really well, but then as you kind of looked at it in the grand scope of the whole episode, it changed your view and it changed everything. Like, you know, maybe this joke didn't hit too hard because it didn't have the it just didn't work with what we previously wrote or what's written later. So I mean, I'm super satisfied with how this episode turned out, and there were some things that we cut that I think would have been really nice, but in the end I'm pretty happy with what we had.
Yep.
The version of the reprise of the song with lyrics almost wasn't in the episode at all.
That's true.
Yeah.
True.
I remember we were experimenting for a long time, having it play with the lyrics while Paintbrush is being during the scene where Paintbrush walks into the portal. And we eventually agreed that it was a little bit too distracting and it was kind of better and more atmospheric without the lyrics. So there was a time when we just thought, oh, well, maybe we'll just release it separately or on like an album or as a single or something. But Brian actually was able to integrate it into the credits.
Because I loved it so much.
Brian is our credits guy.
You see, I knew there are so many ideas, as we were saying, they're great ideas, but if it doesn't work for the cohesive whole of the episode, then it doesn't. But I knew that reprise would do so much good in terms of hitting home the thematic resolution of the episode. I was like, it has to be in there. It's both great on its own and it's great for the episode. So I got to get it in there. I fit it in the credits. So
that was one of two things that almost didn't make it in, and I was really upset about almost not making it. More so the reprise right there, because I was like, that brings home everything, and it's so perfect. But also the after credit scene almost didn't make it in there.
Yeah, well, that was last minute too. I made that on the last.
Oh, I remember.
We were pushing for it until it jumped right on it, within the final week when. The point where we thought it was just gone. It was upsetting. I think Brian wrote that one just in
I remember
one go.
I think it was me, you, and Taylor, and we were trying to then cut down the script. And then I just had this idea. I was like, guys, I know we're supposed to be cutting it down right now, but I just had an idea. I'm going to ring a bell that cannot be unrung. And then I wrote out
that is exactly what
Salt, Pepper, and Baxter. And I was like, what do you guys think? And you were both like,
we gotta
yeah, and I mean, and the thing was, in the way that we kind of labeled it was, I remember I labeled scenes that I want to do, but we were crunched for time. I label them as if we have time scenes.
IWHT.
IWHT. That's what I call them. If we have time scenes, because that is meaning I want this in the episode. I will try to get this into the episode, but time is the biggest factor, and so. That scene, as well as the first scene where you see the alternate characters, that was also an if we have time scene. And I just, instead of storyboarding it, I just animated it because I had the time and I didn't have my my tablet. So the first time you ever see Kumquat and Traffic Light and all those guys, that was an if we have time scene that I just got done before we did the storyboards. And then the other if we have time scene was the after credits, and that I got done within a day or so, and Loren made the background for that part, which was really, really great.
I remember that was at night. I think A lot of
Oh,
my favorite parts of like the behind the scenes stuff is just like sitting with Taylor for a couple of hours and just watching him animate and me making stuff for him.
But yeah, and also just making a little
That was like
comment.
the one scene I didn't have to finalize either,
What's that? Oh yeah. Well,
which is nice. Yeah.
Well, Adam, I think we should just quickly mention what was our. This is. I think this is just important to mention. Let's just quickly mention how the finalizing process was.
Yeah. That should be really fun to talk about. So this was really around New Year's time. So
Exactly.
all of these guys, except for Lauren and Ben, because they don't live near us, but we were all at my house for New Year's, and then everyone left except for Taylor, and Brian was there for a bit. But really, Taylor stayed with me
for like 4 days.
Probably like 4 days. Yeah, it was a long time,
and we just worked
like all day, like dogs.
Yeah, I remember being there for like a couple calls.
Yeah, we would call Lauren, and like we'd just be like, "Hey, Lauren, you want to like keep us some company while we sit here?" And like it would literally just be us backgrounding and then editing and doing this and doing that. And I'm like, "Oh no, I forgot this." And Lauren's like, "Hey, I made a prop for this." And I'm like, "Lauren, you savior." So
exactly, it was.
I was the comedic effect.
I stayed
like,
until my class literally started, and I was like, "Well, I have to go, so I'll message you guys and see what's then going on."
It was us doing like last-minute character animation edits, finalizing things, putting the shadows in, the lights, and then you have to put all the backgrounds in that Sean did, which it's like, oh, he already did the backgrounds. It's like no work to put them in. It's a lot of work to put them in. It takes a lot of time.
I didn't working with like you guys. I didn't realize how terribly hard it is to put those backgrounds in, because like you have all the characters are moving around them, and like when the camera pans out, you have to figure out like, how do I keep this background and the characters aligned correctly so that it doesn't look like they're sliding across the ground the entire time.
Yeah.
And we definitely underestimated how much work the finalizing process was going to be. I remember I was like texting Adam before I was coming up for New Year's, and I was like, "Yeah, we'll knock it out in like 2 days." We weren't even done after 4 days. We were halfway.
We'll get this done in 30 minutes. Don't worry.
Literally had like a breakdown. I'm like, "We're not gonna do this." Like,
I was gonna take another year to upload.
Yeah, I couldn't
try to keep Adam alive through it, and then I just collapsed out of like exhaustion.
I am not meant to work for that long in a row. Like, I need to like do other things too. I just couldn't handle it, but it was worth it. We got a lot done in that weekend anyway, and it was cool. It was cool, but it was tough. It was hard. But we got it done, so that's what matters. And my dog too. My dog was really trying to get in there.
I want to help too.
Yeah, she would jump on us and stuff while we were animating. Yeah, cute, but also annoying after like hours of that. So
Also, if you're allergic to Adam's dog,
like
Justin is.
It's a mess.
Justin, you're allergic to everything, though.
Well, yeah, but
Justin's even allergic to me.
Yeah, my dog would like jump over the gate and
writing. He has to always write good writing instead.
Yeah, that was pretty hilarious. Thank you, Justin, for putting up with that.
I mean, it was pretty nice because Adam, you should mention, what did we do on New Year's?
We watched. Funny story. We watched The Room, the movie The Room, the great.
It was my first time seeing
it. The all-time great.
Brian Snapchatted like the entire movie. If you watched his Snapchat story, you could literally watch the entire movie with Brian's commentary in the background going like, "Oh my god, this is so bad."
No, my favorite movie
to get through the finalizing process if it wasn't for quoting that movie. Like,
oh
I
my
quoted
god,
that movie.
Yeah, Lauren can advocate for this. I just like turn to Adam and I'd be like, "Oh, what the story, Mark?" And he'd be like,
too much. It was way too much.
Yeah, and I was
way
like,
too much.
I haven't seen The Room, and I was just like, "What?"
Well, now you basically heard every line in the movie from us.
I was watching with you guys, and there was a bunch of people at the party, and they're all speaking over like every line of dialogue. I'm like, guys,
it's Lisa. She said that I hit her. What?
I did not. I did not.
No, it's not true. Don't even ask. Don't even ask. What's
hi,
new
Mark.
with you? I know the whole scene
For
is
me,
terrible. Oh my god.
the most memorable part of New Year's was definitely when we all went to sleep, and then Adam has a special wake up ritual, which if you want to explain, please then say what you did, because it was
yeah. So we have this. I'm Jewish, and we have this weird like, what do you call those things? Animatronic, kind of. It's like this little animatronic matzah man who sings about making matzah. And
What?
Well, you always wake me up with it.
Wait, hold on, back up. Wait, what?
So Brian and
It's like a
Justin
little
are
boy.
sleeping in the basement on the couch. So I open the door, I turn it on high volume, I turn it on and shut the door immediately, and you can just hear it from the other side of the house.
Brian was sleeping in the dungeon.
Well, Adam, almost
It's
it's like
loud.
It's
well,
so
Adam, I've been at your house like so many
The first
times.
thing
Every time you wake me up with the matzah man.
No, but imagine I'm at the bottom
How
of
else
the
would you want to wake
stairs.
up?
I'm sleeping on the couch. I hear something in the distance. I turn. I open my eyes. The first thing I see,
It's
waking up,
Matzo Man. He's there.
it's this tiny little man doing a dance and singing, and I was like,
Ooh, it does this.
That's my creepypasta. Matzo.
It was the most horrifying moment of my life.
But you had me there to
Um,
protect you.
It's true. It's true. And I looked at Justin like, "What's going on?"
And then
Justin flew in.
I was used to it though, so I was like,
It's always,
although it was still scary.
That's how it's going.
Scary initially.
Yeah.
Gosh.
All right. Should I ask a question?
Oh yes, we kind of
Yes.
got it straight away. Go.
Last
for it.
question.
Okay, so is this the last question?
I believe it is because it's 2.
We can do
I
it.
mean-
Does anyone need to leave?
I don't have to leave for another hour almost ish.
I mean,
I don't
keep in
have to
mind,
leave either.
like, the longer we
We
stay,
could do, like-
the longer. Actually, some context really quickly. So we are in the Trojan Vision room at USC. We are not supposed to be here at all.
Now you can explain the quote.
There is no way that they would allow this. So we were just like, "Do you have internet? Is anyone here?" They're like, "No." But we hear people opening the door, and we have a code word, which means we have to shut it down. And we say Mike Wazowski is our code word. There's a Mike Wazowski just hanging here. So we're like, we were scared before. We were like, "Yo, Mike
Because
Wazowski."
someone opened the door. Someone opened the door, but then probably heard us screaming Mike Wazowski and closed it.
It was really fun. So yeah. So we've gotten away with a lot being here for as long as we have, and we were gonna do it in my apartment, but our internet is like absolute garbage, so we cannot do that. But this internet's fantastic.
Yeah, yeah.
You
It's
guys look crystal
finally-
clear.
They
Um,
actually are an award-winning. They have so many trophies from all their internet. You can actually see them all.
Oh,
That-
Internet 2018.
damn, they're well recognized for.
Very well recognized for their internet. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna ask a question.
all right.
So,
here until you get in trouble because the people need to see this.
Justin, how dare you interrupt me? How dare you? Actually, like, I don't think we can
Heart
be
you.
friends anymore.
Hurt you. You're supposed to say hurt you back.
Hurt you? You can't see my face because there's 3 of them because I'm traffic light.
Shut up! Shut up! Shut up!
Shut up! Okay, so Americatress asks, what is or has been your least favorite scene out of this second season?
Least favorite scene.
Yeah.
In the season.
It's gotta be you.
Oh man,
no!
yeah, that scene from episode 9 is really good. Taylor,
I
tell us about
I
that scene.
pretend that entire part of episode 9 just doesn't exist.
It starts with the elimination.
Okay, I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna go
I
that.
love it.
I pretend that whole part doesn't exist, but I'm not going into that right now.
Okay. My
My-
actual favorite.
I want to say mine.
All
Okay,
right, fine, go for it. I know what you're gonna say, Lauren.
I
but
bring
go
this
for
up every single time, and I got to do it
it.
again.
I know you are.
The beginning of episode 6 with those really nice-looking gradients on test tube and fan.
Oh my god, that's such a visual thing, though. That has nothing to do with the story.
It's not a visual
Is
thing at
that-
all.
is that
It's
the
visually
question?
awful.
Exactly.
It's a visual component.
Test
It's not
tube is a
talking
round
about.
character, and you shaded her like she was flat. Oh
Give me
my
a break.
God.
How old was I when that was made? I actually don't know.
I don't know either. That was
Which episode?
It's episode 6.
Episode 6.
Oh man, I just love it so much. I love how
I was
it-
in high school,
I
definitely.
love how it's on her side and also on the top. It's like it's just dark, just completely black on those
Like a
both
black
those sides.
I think we
But
were
then
sophomores
the other
in high
thing
school
about
when
that scene,
episode came
though,
out.
Is that I love that scene so much because it like halfway through that scene it changes to white. Like the gradient on her like just changes to white, and I'm just like,
Oh.
what happened here? It's just like
This is just
what?
Lauren personally attacking Adam. in public.
Yeah, I don't know.
what I don't know.
I mean,
That's what we're here for, right?
like shining on it. But it's not justified. Like, here's the thing that I want to get across. I am not a talented artist at all. Like, I appreciate all of you in the comments saying like, oh, you're so awesome. Like, no, I'm not.
Hey guys, did you see Adam's awesome
Yeah.
background that he uploaded to Twitter today?
Oh,
Wow,
thank
so
you.
there's no
Like,
talent at all in that. Ooh.
No,
no, no
but
talent at
thing is,
all.
I worked like really hard to even get to that like basic background. It took me a long time. So some people are just like very good at art, like naturally. Like I just love art, and I always wanted to be good at it. But I don't think I'm like naturally very good at it. But I try.
Well,
But
the
yeah,
thing is like that with
like-
that scene, that was forever ago, and you've gotten better. So
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
on the back of that.
Brian, I'd actually be curious to hear if you have any least favorite scene.
I mean, like it comes down to a lot of like, I know there was also then a question of like if there was anything that then you could change about what's then.
Yeah, I saw that too.
I know, like season 1, it's just like it would just be to have more of an overarching than sort of sense of like progression and where it was going. I tried to then like, I remember writing like a speech for OJ about like how like, for us realizing what it means to be fulfilled and stuff, and it's like there was a point to all of this, and it's like, well, but there was. So there's no
Take it
any,
seriously
like,
because of the way it looked.
yeah, there's like no specific moment necessarily, but I guess then it would just be in general. Well, I mean, there are specific moments, and it would probably be in episode 2, and there would probably be a Justin Bieber appearing on screen. But
I just couldn't hold that one in.
nothing against the Biebs. Well, I mean, stuff against the Biebs, but just he has no place in the universe.
You know what? That's your opinion. You're entitled to. I think that he represents the core of the show.
Me
Which
too.
is- Get out there, do what you want to do, explore life.
Oh, dude.
Why did you say that, Adam?
Well said. Well said.
I mean,
Thank you. Thank you.
I can't think of a specific season 2 scene that I dislike, but I'm still upset to this day that episode 5 we had to cut like half the episode just because it couldn't be finished in time. Season 1, episode 5.
Oh,
Wait.
season 1.
The scene where
The-
Nichols
the-
like holds up his leg and it's like his hand.
Oh my
I'm
god.
so angry at that.
Dude.
That
Me
was
too.
like
My
that was
head
totally
too.
me. I just want to say like that was completely my
Which
decision.
scene?
It was the scene. It's an episode. Actually, is it 5 or 6?
It's in 5. It's in 5. It's
That
5.
was
They know. They know.
Nichols talking to Knife about using sarcasm.
It's
And
like,
he's, like,
mean
talking-
thoughts fill my head too, and also my hand foot.
As his
The
foot.
leg just turns into a hand, and I'm like, and I remember I was like, I don't think that's how it works.
It bends the
Yeah.
wrong way too. That leg is broken, dude.
He's very flexible.
It's also not a leg; it's an arm.
It's a
He's
cartoon.
flexible.
Don't take it seriously. It's for kids.
Even though you set up that in episode 3, Knife breaks his leg.
Oh, my leg.
Oh yeah, the cast kind of vanishes.
Oh yeah, I remember we forgot the cast in like one part, and I was like, okay.
Oops. Oh.
Episode
Yeah.
4. Episode 4 was, in my opinion, at least I have a personal vendetta against episode 4 because that's when my computer died. But episode 4, in my opinion, is one of my least favorites, just of all of season 2. We all have expressed what our least favorite episodes are, but episode 4 is still my least favorite, just because there's a lot of like animation errors, there's a lot of continuity errors, there's a lot of like nobody even uses the ingredient thing because that was written in like last minute. There was supposed to be a whole different thing that happened there, and then we just forgot, and like there's just so much that goes wrong.
I think we literally.
But I love
we kept
the
it so we
green
could
slam
make it
dynamic and the
animatic.
bright light dynamic, and they work so well off of each other in that episode. You just get the teams being fun with each other, really in a way that you never
Oh
had
yeah,
before.
the ingredients creator just did nothing.
Right. This is why
That was
we
cool.
now have
You
Animate.
made the creator, didn't you?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't.
like-
I did do the scene where it appeared,
Okay,
but
you animated it.
but you drew the. Someone drew the. I didn't.
It
Actually
might have
draw
been
yet.
me.
But
Because
this
why-
episode
Yeah.
4 was actually the first one that I worked on.
and storyboards
Right.
we're a bit more on top of how we do things, because in
Yeah.
the past we were like, oh, we're going to do this, but it won't really matter in the end. And then like, once the episode's out, we're like, boy, do I regret doing literally everything. So
That's true. As much as we love episode 12, in like a year, we're going to be like, ugh, episode 14 is so much better. You know what I mean?
Episode 11 and 12 are both like.
Well, hold on. You said episode 14. These
Five?
take
Okay.
a year to make, Adam. Excuse me. It would be episode 15.
Ben just said something.
Yeah, we're gonna work on that.
Ben said something.
Just to answer the question, I think my least favorite I don't know if I could narrow it down to a single scene, but I think my least favorite episode of season 2 is probably episode 5, personally.
Which is Adam. I think it's your least favorite too.
Yeah, that's my least favorite too. So I relate to you there.
That's the first episode that we tried to work in thematically.
Yeah, what abs? What abs?
It matters a lot to me.
Yeah, it does.
It's episodes 1 and 2 that I'd point to, which I mean, not just because they're the first. One was pretty well done, I think. I think 2 kind of just flows by
It's still
without
finding
really
its
leaving an
voice.
impact.
Exactly. It doesn't feel quite like season 2 yet. It still kind of feels like, hey, this is sort of like season 1, but then.
Well, I think it's important to note that we always like looking back at our roots, because even in the previous episode that we just did, we go back to episode. We know what we've done in the past. We are aware, as much as we do not like to acknowledge much of season 1, we are aware
all
of
the
it.
time.
Here's what I want to say. I think this is important to get out there. All right. I believe everyone who's in this live stream right now can't even legally drink a beer. We're young people.
Exactly.
We made all those episodes. Like
Brian can and I can and
Brian
we're
can.
young.
Yeah.
So my point is,
Adam,
I
right?
can illegally drink a beer.
yeah, I'm not sure what's going on, but my point is, we worked really hard to get here, and everything that we did in those previous episodes, we were kids. We were trying to figure out what we were trying to do, and we were learning as we were going. So I always say I don't regret anything because it got us here now.
Yeah.
That's what
Exactly. I remember we said that in the 6-year anniversary live stream, and I say it again now. No regrets. We're here where we are because of what we did. So
Everyone starts somewhere.
Exactly. You think that everyone who's made a great show just started amazing? Like
everyone starts with the
a
crappy
lot
stuff.
of crap first.
That's good.
Ooh.
No, that was good. I really liked going at least back to episode 1 this episode because I mean I know for sure Adam had a blast going back and kind of recreate.
Oh, actually wins.
Can we talk about that scene for a second?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I feel like I should mention this because I remember some people were asking about whether or not we actually had Christian Potenza come back for this episode and the original voice actors for Salt and Pepper. And the answer is actually no. It's that we looked. I remember Adam had mentioned this in his Periscope.
The original files.
Yes.
Frozen for you.
I think Taylor
Did
cut
Taylor
out.
die?
Are we going to see a return of Robo Taylor?
Okay, but here's what I'll say. I'll just finish for him. I went through my old laptop and I found all of the files from the first episode. And I took all of them and I gave them to Taylor and I'm like, here's everything we have. Like all the assets that we animated for season 1, like those scenes, were all like the actual images from, we didn't recreate any of them except for all the mouths. I think I had to redraw those, but almost everything and the backgrounds, but everything is from episode 1. Yeah, I'm getting a call from Taylor. See what's going on here.
I love
Special guest calling for a telephone.
Hey, Taylor.
Hey, so that was really embarrassing. My computer just like crashed.
Wow,
the
you're still
entire thing just
frozen.
shut
And
off.
like,
I still see
That's
you.
what I had. You're frozen.
It looks
Just
awesome
like
to
a
us
photo of
on
you.
it's a flattering photo. Don't worry. You're like
Okay,
you're
well,
very
yeah,
conscious.
on the video.
I
It's
don't know
just
why
the
else
AJ
it
icon.
crashed. I will try my best to get back into the Hangout as soon as I can. I don't know what happened, but my computer literally just restarted.
Don't worry about it, dude. You're fine. I was just telling
Alright.
everyone about the season 1 assets.
Yeah, okay, yeah, go for it.
Okay.
I'll try my best to come back in
Adam.
ASAP. If not, I think it's just important to mention that all of the lines that we got for the old Salt and Pepper and Christian Potenza, those are all archive lines that we just
They were all
read
premeditated.
that were never heard before. And as we listened to them, we were like, wow,
Bye,
like,
Ben.
it worked so perfectly in this scenario. So that's all I really wanted to say, at least in terms of what I was bringing up, until my computer just decided to kill itself.
All right, Taylor. Well, thanks for chiming in.
Chiving.
Of course.
Chiving in.
What
chiming
What a
in.
lot of people don't know is that was actually an archival recording of Taylor. That wasn't.
Actually, yes, I am still a robot.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah,
Okay.
we planned this all out. Isn't it great? Oh man,
Can we talk about I love about that scene is how different the physics are between Old Salt and Pepper and Lightbulb.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my God,
Like,
that turn is so good.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
it's
the
like
scene
this
where
paper-
Lightbulb pushes Salt, like I made it so that the physics like don't work at
I
all.
love
so-
that. She's like slowing down as she falls.
and then they
Yeah.
stop and then they just disappear.
And then they just disappear off.
And like Salt, when Lightbulb like connects with Salt, she like juts up slightly
Like
for
a-
a frame and then goes back down.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Thank you. I try to be as I really was like, how can I make this as garbage as I can while also being what I would have done when I was like 12. Like you have to put yourself in that headspace.
There's
again,
no
you know?
way that I'm doing that.
Method animating. Steep.
Wait, Taco! Don't do it! So good.
Oh man.
All right. Wow. We covered a lot of ground. Hopefully
Good.
Taylor can make it in the next.
Okay, we gotta answer as many questions as we can before he gets back.
Lightning
Let's get
round?
on this.
We want to do a
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning round.
Lightning
Have
round.
we ever been able to actually pull off a lightning round before?
No, not at all.
So if you have anything that long that you want to say, just shut up.
keep it to 140 characters or
If
less.
we want to
Oh.
just
This
Yeah.
is a good one to note. Lucas Plays asks, "Are you coming to 2018 VidCon?"
ooh.
And the answer is, I will. There will be
Oh,
more
man.
information soon on that. I don't
I'll
want to
try.
know exactly what's happening. but
When
I
is
will
it?
say it'll be similar to last year, if you know what I'm saying.
Can you
So
tell me, Adam? When is it?
June, we're trying to make it as cool as we can, and I hope that everyone on this call can be there if they want to, if they're around. It's
I'm
gonna
gonna
be behind
try.
property again. So
Adam, what's the date?
I have no idea.
You have no idea. Okay, I'll try to make it.
Really?
I can
Do you think you're gonna
Yeah.
be in California, like LA?
I'm going to California over spring break to check out some schools over there.
Spring
Whoa,
break.
ooh,
Okay,
nice.
this is usually during the summer.
Spring break is March for me, but I can always just convince my parents to let me go.
Taylor, you let me
Yeah.
know, Lauren. We're gonna hang out. I'm not even
Yeah,
kidding.
I wanna see you in person.
Yeah, well, we can make it happen. Just let me know.
You can go to Disney.
VidCon is
You
June
get to see
20th
my-
to 23rd.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's go to Disneyland, Lauren. Me
Oh,
and
man,
Ben.
that would be awesome.
Animate Insanity take
Can I come?
If
No.
you can, March.
I want to go to
No.
Disneyland.
I'll
Look at Mickey Mouse. Oh, inspiration.
Yeah.
Balloon is.
Say that to me. That's so funny.
Mickey Mouse will go.
But yeah, so we'll a lot of us from here will try to make it to 2018 VidCon. I mean, I've never gotten to go to any con before, and I want to go to this one to like just.
We would
Nice.
love to have you, man.
I
It was
finally went to Comic Con the
last
first
year.
time this year.
Gotta watch out. They're a
I
lot.
was gonna go. Okay, I was gonna go last year's, and like with that whole thing, I was gonna be there, but like I had something come up like last minute, and I was like, oh, I can't go. So
Oh, of course.
maybe this year.
okay, lightning round.
Yeah,
Lightning,
this is,
Lightning
I,
round.
I have one. From Athir Al-Mudhafer, I totally messed that up. I'm sorry. What was Paintbrush's question? Which I just wanted to then confirm that it is indeed full circle when when it goes back into the past, asks, oh, Painty, hey Painty. Paintbrush sees there's another light bulb, a very high quality, odd, doesn't look inherent to this world version.
Who are
of
those
light
two
bulb.
over there? That's
And
the
then there's
question.
Paintbrush. That's just like, yeah, like so. Everyone ready? Well, actually, I had a question about.
Stylistically
So was that always the question? I don't know. Doesn't that like break the conventions of time travel logic and such? Well, light bulb always then is a contradiction in Paintbrush's eyes. So light bulb always was Paintbrush's question because light bulb
Okay.
always confounded Paintbrush.
Okay, Justin, go. Justin.
oh,
or Taylor, wait,
never
no.
go. Here's a quick one.
There you go.
From original Sleepy Kitten, by any chance are you hiring animators? I just want to throw this out there and say that we're always looking for additional animators because we need to get the show done. And you guys are talented, and we appreciate you.
Yes, and I
question.
want to take a second
Yes.
to thank the whole animation team for everything they did this episode. You know,
Wanna list
obviously
off everyone?
on this call, but also the people who couldn't be here today. Really, like they did a great job. Like everything just came out even better than I could have ever imagined, and I think it all just combined to make what we see really what we wanted to see. So thank you guys very much for all your help, and all of their
Yes.
credits are in the episode too. I think we had 9 people animating on this.
Wow.
So
Yeah, it was a lot.
yeah, they all did phenomenal. So thank you, everybody. Yeah.
Okay, lightning round. Taylor.
Did we answer this question from Graded A? Does the crew hang out in real life or outside of work on II? If so, any fun memories?
We basically, well,
Well,
Ben and Adam are in real life right now.
No. You know,
Years. I'm kind of sitting next to this guy, and we were just talking about going to Disneyland. If that answers the question.
yeah, and we actually, like we said before, we hung out during New Year's. I've met. Funny enough, I remember the first time Brian remember.
Oh my god.
That's right. Oh my god. Yeah.
amazing.
So this was like I don't think I even had a Facebook account at this point.
No,
so Taylor had no
what
idea.
he looks like.
Yeah.
Wait, Taylor is.
He
I think
literally
Taylor's.
printed out a photo.
Whoa.
What? Did I glitch again?
I think
Yeah.
you got glitched again.
Great.
Yeah. No.
Well-
yeah. Are you working now?
Am I?
Yeah,
Yes.
you're working
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
is
just
my
say it again.
computer deciding to make another Robo Taylor?
No, it's working. Go for it.
Okay, yes. What I was saying was, the first time I met Brian, he covered his face with a photo of Mi Phone 4S because I had never seen what he looked like before.
No, it wasn't Me Phone 4S. I think it was an image of Wreck-It Ralph because we were going to see Wreck-It Ralph.
Oh wait! Well, no. We were going to see Wreck-It Ralph, but I'm pretty sure you literally printed a photo of Me Phone 4S and I slapped it out of your hands. Or something.
No, I think I printed a picture of the 8-bit Wreck-It Ralph poster because you had never seen what my face looked like. This was pre-Facebook. We had just talked on Skype, so I prolonged it as long as I could. Then you slapped it, and then there it was, my beauty and grace.
That's right.
Yep.
That was great to behold. How long ago was that now? 6 years ago?
That's 2012. Thanksgiving 2012, right?
Yeah.
So
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Dang.
And then Brian and Justin and Ben have hung out in the city before. I remember there's like this really, really great like video collection of like y'all like doing voices and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
wasn't me,
Deacon
it was
Brian and
me.
I
I've never met them.
in New York City once. Hey, Justin, remember when me, you, and Dee went to get brownies at the diner?
Yeah, but I guess that's all there is to it.
That's all of the story. It's okay. We don't have to get into detail.
Okay.
Okay, there's theoretically an allergy issue involving consumption, but like it wasn't a big deal, and everyone made it
I
seem
just
like
had
it
to
was a
run
big deal.
quickly
But
to the store and get like something.
You go up to the store. Okay, lightning round.
Okay,
Lightning round.
It's my turn.
well, if someone has a lightning question that they can answer really briefly, go for it.
Crap, I had a question. No, where is it? Oh, will we see... Oh, Trey Green asks, will we see a return of the alternate reality characters later on in an episode?
I'd say there's a possibility.
Next question.
I hope to gosh there's a possibility.
Yeah, I wouldn't outright say that they are completely and utterly forgotten and destroyed forever. Technically, yes, they cease to exist, but that
Well,
doesn't
like,
mean that
I feel like that they all have... I feel like since it's time travel, they all like still exist in the current state, but they didn't end up
they exist on their own timeline, but since we're not on that timeline, they technically wouldn't exist.
would you
Yeah,
guys
so maybe their personalities are a bit different or something.
I don't know. Would you guys want to see him again? Let us know.
I want to see Traffic Light again, and it's not because I voice him.
If there's any thoughts there,
I could just read
that's for the
forever.
future, right? That's
Actually, Adam, I like that you just said that because Madeline improvised that line. Remember?
Yep.
Just weep forever.
Oh, I could just weep forever. That was Madeline. Just apparently.
Oh.
Oh,
It happens.
Oh, that's
Oh,
wait, no, he's back. He's back.
He's back, Taylor.
What keeps
Bro.
happening?
I don't know.
It's always
the lightning
so
round,
bad.
Taylor. All right.
Okay, fine.
Adam,
Fine,
lightning
fine.
round. Go.
Okay, we should really wrap this up soon, but
Zap lightning.
Little Painty, this is an interesting quick lightning round thing we could do. How do you think the votes would go if Suitcase didn't win immunity?
I run through this in my head already because the only change that would really happen is
Suitcase
Knife's not.
would immediately get eliminated.
I think Knife's position in trying to get the Knife baseball alliance, at least for the voting, wouldn't work out because there's no way baseball would refrain from trying to get Suitcase out. I think
exactly.
all the Bright Lights' votes would stay consistent. So you would get the baseball vote for Suitcase, which takes one off of Paintbrush. So you might get the full tie, but you could also get Knife trying to convince. If Knife feels like he may be in danger, you might get a scenario in which he's going to Suitcase and trying to get help on that, or trying to say to Microphone, "Hey, I know something happened here, but you might be in danger. So let's put our heads together here."
Yeah,
that's
definitely
it's hard. We wouldn't say where Knife is on this whole situation that he's gotten himself into right now.
Knife's jealous.
But that is the changing factor there. So it just becomes a little more complicated.
Because
You know what I have to say to that?
like think about alternate reality.
Yeah.
Actually happening.
I could just weep forever.
Very good.
And one quick thing again, sorry, I know this is kind of breaking the rules asking two things, but
Do it.
someone asked, Matar Vincent, how do you and other crew members power through illness or fatigue and find strength to be creative?
Oh man, I can.
Yeah, the answer is I didn't. I was like very, I was like
How
very
long-
depressed during the episode.
Okay,
but
Taylor, how long did we stay up on the night before the episode dropped?
You, me, and
editing,
Justin were up until at least like 4 or 5.
editing Niall's scene that he turned in.
Yeah.
That was the montage. The
Yeah,
great
the montage was the last scene that was really edited for the episode, and that took forever.
Watching that montage, watching you like edit that montage was
Yeah.
wonderful.
the backgrounds, I was like,
Yeah, you're getting as quick as you could. I mean, wait, was the question about how you power through?
yes. One thing I wanted to say,
Or strength to be creative.
when I was at Nickelodeon, we had a talk with Butch Hartman, who created The Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. And someone asked him, like, the elevator, exactly. So someone asked him, like, I sometimes struggle through fatigue and sometimes I get a little burned out with working. How do you get through that? And Butch was like, oh, I've never had that. And
Thanks.
I love him.
recently, he's like, no, I don't get burned out. I think that that's an excuse. No offense. I'm like, whoa, this guy's crazy.
Yeah, if you have a chance, he has a YouTube and a podcast, and they're great. He's a really
awesome.
fun guy.
He's awesome. He works so hard. I've never met someone who's as like directly hardworking. Like when he is not working on a cartoon, he's working on a YouTube video, or he's working on this or that. Like he always has to be doing something. It's really impressive.
For me, what I take away from that is that he doesn't get burnt out because that's the passion, and that's how I feel. That Animate Insanity, it's been there for me for a very long time at this point. It's years and years. It's been highs, there's been lows in my own life, and Animate Insanity, it's a constant, but at the same time, it's always evolving. So I can always then just be thinking about then what's happening next. I can always be coming up with ideas, and if it's something then you're passionate about, then you don't really feel burnt out on it. Like there may be times when you're frustrated or you're like, I can't get this right, but you'll always then end up coming back to it. Like this, I want to get this perfect. I care about this. I love this.
Did you meet Butch Hartman in an elevator?
I did meet Butch Hartman in an elevator with an NFL player. He was with an NFL player, and I just shake the guy's hand. I'm like, good to meet you. And Butch is like, this guy's in the NFL. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. And then they both get out of the elevator.
That's a lot of
And then you put to yourself, this guy's on YouTube.
I did not bring that up.
And then you do like the awkward smile and like me, I'm here too.
Yeah, I definitely
This
did
guy-
not plug. But yeah, maybe
Be
I
sure to
should've-
like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah. Oh my god.
That's my plug. Oh,
Plug.
All right. Is there any other last minute
I mean,
questions?
I
Like and subscribe to join my free gift card
unless we
giveaway.
want to wrap up.
Yeah, I think this is a good spot if we could. I know we went about a half hour over what we wanted to, but this is great. Like, thank you guys so much for tuning in. We've had
And
hundreds
for
of you.
submitting the questions.
Yes,
Yeah,
Sorry
absolutely.
we couldn't get to all of them.
All 200, how many of them?
There were over 200.
But if you have a
And-
burning question, tweet to me at AnimationEpic, and I'll give you whatever answer. I'm always on Twitter.
He'll say yes or no, even if it's a
Or
no yes or no.
Taylor and I on Tumblr.
Yeah.
Brian, there's the fan blog.
Hold on.
Hi,
Peter.
Peter.
Hey, it's Peter.
From the Countdown to Coco
I'd like
podcast.
you on the Countdown to
Countdown to Coco podcast?
Yes, the award-winning Countdown to Coco podcast.
Yeah.
Hello,
It's a great
everybody.
podcast. Everyone should watch it. Listen, of course.
Yeah.
Peter, you're on Animation Epic right now, live.
You're famous.
I'm on Animation Epic Live.
You're famous.
Oh, I wish I wore a better shirt. Oh man.
Dude, don't. That's a cool shirt.
So
Yeah.
I know it is. I was just wanting you to say. I just
Okay.
want.
Peter and I are
in there too. Like you're doing well. Like right here in the pocket.
Oh yeah, I got a pen in case I need to like sign a check.
Very good.
I'm always ready.
Good.
Always
Drop in
ready.
a contract.
Phenomenal.
What's up?
We get a contract. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So when am I getting my Inanimate Insanity cameo? When am I getting my big?
Oh
You're
shoot.
gonna be Arlo in the next episode.
Oh,
He can be
No.
I am out of here.
All right.
That's okay.
Haven't you should watch the Countdown to Coco. It's great. Yeah.
Shameless plug.
You should talk
Yes.
about every Pixar film.
Me and Peter talk about every Pixar film leading up to Coco. Now Coco's out, but you can still listen to all our
And
talk.
how long do we talk? 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
Oh no, anywhere from like an hour to 2.5 hours. So there you go. Yeah, there's our.
That was my life every day. It would just-
I
just
animated a lot of the episode while listening to this podcast, so I
Same, actually.
definitely.
I got through a lot of my days listening to Brian's 1 hour review of the SpongeBob movie.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Guys,
1
how
hour
did
you
we
talked
go
about that
this
movie.
long without a Mike Wazowski. That I am.
Woo!
I mean, we got one Mike Wazowski.
We did get,
but I think
a,
us shouting Mike
That
Wazowski.
was Wazowski.
yes. Mike Wazowski.
Mike
Yeah, if you want to make your own Inanimate Insanity, something that great, just listen to the Countdown to Coco while you animate, and then you'll get the same results. So
Exactly. That's
gives
all
us-
it is.
We
But-
can be the Pixar.
yes, we can.
Yes.
Very
Thank you
cool.
guys so much for tuning in. We really
Yep.
appreciate having you. Is there anything anyone else wants to last minute
We have
say?
to, wait, well, we have to scream at the end, as always. Tradition.
Oh, that's
Oh, of course.
All right, we got to
That's
plan
the most
that.
professional way.
All right. Are we,
Ah!
Wait, is this a
Oh,
live
I
stream?
think that was too
tradition?
early.
yeah. Yeah. You scream right when you hit the stop button.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah, we've
okay.
done it,
I
like,
can get
every
behind
time.
that.
Okay. I'll get my finger on the stop button. All right, everybody. You ready?
Yep.
Sure.
Signing out.
Let's see.
3, 2, 1. Ah!